Get your Fernando's fix, Omaha's favorite Mexican for 30 years. Watching a ball game at Oscar's Pizza and Sports Grill is pretty awesome. Oscar's offers the MLB package, so your team is always on their upgraded audio-video system, and nothing is better than watching the game with a cold frosty one, Oscar's Pizza, or award-winning char-buffed wings. And with daily lunch and dinner specials, it's really a no-brainer. So get ready to watch your favorite team play ball at Oscar's Pizza and Sports Grill, 173rd and West Center Road, and takeout at 162nd and Maple.
U.S. Cellular Prepaid. Right now, you can get a Moto G Play free when you add a line of service. Get nationwide 5G coverage today. U.S. Cellular. Built for us. Terms apply. Visit uscellular.com for details.
I'm Bridget Condon with NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network. Cowboys owner Jerry Jones fielded questions in Oxnard, California Thursday about the team's lack of postseason success, as well as the contract statuses for Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and Micah Parsons. Jones saying of his quarterback, quote, "I don't think this is his last year with the Cowboys at all." Dak Prescott telling reporters, quote, "I want to be here, but you know when you look up all the great quarterbacks I've watched, they've played for other teams." Meanwhile, wide receiver CeeDee Lamb is not with the team at training camp. Instead, is working out in Houston while seeking a new contract. Someone who did get a new deal is Broncos wide receiver Courtland Sutton, who signed a restructured deal worth up to $15.2 million this season, including $1.5 million in incentives, according to NFL Network insider Tom Pelissero. This has been NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network.
All right, when it comes to getting life insurance for your family, a lot of excuses can get in the way. But ask yourself this: if something were to happen to me, who would pay the mortgage, the kids' education, and the other bills? Then forget the excuses and check out Ethos Life, the online, easy way to get life insurance in 10 minutes. Ethos has rates that you can afford, like a $500,000 policy for a 40-year-old male starting at $1 a day or $30 a month with a few health questions and no medical exam. Get your free quote right now at checkethos.com. That's checkethos.com. Not available in all states. Rates do vary.
Are you the parent of a 2 to 7-year-old? Listen closely for an exciting free radio offer. By now, you've probably heard of ABC Mouse, the Parents' Choice Award-winning online learning program that's actually changing the lives of early learners everywhere.
ABC Mouse is like a little one-on-one teacher. It has helped her so much.
Right now, we're offering a special radio promo to try it free for a month, but you have to go to abcmouse.com/radio to claim your free month. That's abcmouse.com/radio. Sponsored by Age of Learning.
Host is roasting every morning. Host is roasting every day.
Host Coffee is on a mission to invigorate every workplace with a blend of bold flavors and unforgettable service, creating moments with our coffee, water, and food services that spark joy, productivity, and connection. Call Host Coffee today.
Proudly serving Nebraska since 1972. Host Coffee is always roasting something good for you.
Gonna feel a puff of air.
Jong's Optometry has set their sights on staffing up.
Try the next line. Hey, Kim, can you tell our 2 o'clock we're running 15 behind? Sorry, we're a bit backed up today.
He needs an optometric technician to keep an eye on it all.
Where are the dilation drops?
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Progressive presents 10 things on a plumber's to-do list that are harder than getting a small business insurance quote. Waking up for 5 a.m. plumbing disasters, finding out why water is pouring from the ceiling, replacing a pipe in a home from the 1800s, then dealing with invoices or your awkward apprentice or that really weird smell, and then there's breathing and eating, and of course, clogs. But the easiest thing on any small business owner's to-do list? Seeing if you could save on the business insurance that's right for you. Get a quote in as little as 7 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Coverage provided and serviced by affiliated and third-party insurers.
Getting quality employees to fill positions in your company is essential. But finding those people can be a major hassle. Unless you use ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter makes finding quality people a breeze. And right now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. With ZipRecruiter, one click sends your job to hundreds of top job sites. But more than that, ZipRecruiter's advanced technology identifies the candidates with the skills you need, sends you a list of great matches to review, then actively invites them to apply for your job. And the results speak for themselves. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's right, the first day. Now you can focus on your business and let ZipRecruiter do the work finding the best people for you. See for yourself. Experience the ease, efficiency, and power of ZipRecruiter for free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Many people go back to the dealership out of habit or because they think the dealer is the only one who knows how to fix their car. At Omaha Car Care, we offer a better option. We have ASE certified technicians, the technology to service any vehicle, and free loaner cars. The dealer will sell you a package of services. We'll provide the service you want for your car as your trusted partner. I'm Rick Betker, owner of Omaha Car Care, and we'll be along for the ride.
1620 The Zone.
The faithful will stand as one. Top of the order, C.J. Abrams. Abrams to right field. Johnson coming in. He makes the catch. No hits for the Nats. Dylan Cease throws a no-hitter. The second no-hitter in Padres history. There'll be a sea of San Diegans celebrating back home today.
I've come close before. To do it, it really is remarkable and kind of hard to put into words. I'm just happy. I'm ecstatic.
Live from 50th and Capitol Avenue in the Big O. This is Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com, and 1620 The Zone TV. Now here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy.
All right, good morning, everybody. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on here. I got to start over. It's a Friday, but it also is the opening ceremonies of the Olympics. So do I say bonjour?
And watch it in daytime.
Yeah, what are the opening ceremonies are at like 12:30 our time?
Yeah.
And then
that's weird.
Live on Peacock and down the river they go, the Poop River.
Yep, poop.
And then tonight they play it off like it's live on NBC.
The Poop River.
It is. That's what it is.
I know, the Seine River.
You go to see the Eiffel Tower and you got the Poop River.
Yep. They got the Hudson's got nothing on that thing.
Can you imagine if Oregon played in Paris?
That'd be a dirty duck.
That duck would not like floating down the Poop River. That's for sure. But bonjour, everybody. The opening ceremonies of the Olympics are today. That's one of those events, like when I was a little kid and every 4 years, and now they staggered the winter in the Summer Olympics, that was like a big deal. Opening ceremonies was like a big deal in the Sharp household. Like the whole family, not that we were a large family, would gather around the 7,000-pound TV that sat on the ground.
Kids
have no idea.
Oh, you had the big screen, we had
the big,
heavy, the big heavy big screen. Yeah.
Dad liked his TV.
Yeah,
I think he still does.
Man,
haven't asked in a while, but the opening ceremonies were huge. You'd watch it and it'd be like, oh, okay. And I remember watching more of the Olympics. I will watch certain events in the Olympics, whether it be local participants, because we have quite a few local participants, whether or they're from Omaha, or men's basketball, women's basketball. Simone Biles, I think, is probably one of the bigger stories. Katie Ledecky, Lyles, Richardson, track and field, and all that stuff. I don't know. Is this a age thing? Like you only enjoy the Olympics for the whole run if you're older?
I think you're right. Yeah,
that's true. I do get more excited now than I did for the 2004 Olympics when I was 21.
Yeah,
other things going.
It was. I think that's actually a really fair assessment of how often do you get into, or your frequency of watching the Olympics from the time you have the opportunity to do so to the time you go to bed. I think it's as you're older.
I am fired up to watch handball.
Oh.
I don't watch handball anytime except for every 4 years in the Olympics.
I can get behind handball.
Water polo. Certain sports that you don't really watch or not really big here in the U.S. That in the Olympics you'll watch, like breakdancing. Breakdancing is actually a medal sport this year.
Used to do that in the late 80s.
We can't have baseball. We can't have softball, but we got breakdancing in Paris.
If they would only bring back the parachute pants, though, then you'd really
You never know.
Really make the breakdancing part of it, because yes, I remember breakdancing when 80s.
Yeah.
I looked
tearing up preschool.
I looked at the odds. I guess the U.S. reps in breakdancing are pretty good.
Oh, good.
Looking at the odds.
Yeah, it should be.
But enjoy the opening ceremonies. The France Olympics are here, and it sounds like a miserable thing to host. Like the next time the Summer Olympics are in this country, it'll be Los Angeles, and then the Winter Olympics are coming back to Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
It just sounds like a miserable thing to host because it just shuts down. I mean, I'm sure there's a huge influx, billions of dollars, but you shut down your whole city.
Mm-hmm.
You construct venues that you may never use after the Olympics leave. And then, like the big story this morning, I was watching on the news, is there has been an attack on the train system in Paris. So that has...
Shocker already.
That has like prevented people from getting to the opening ceremonies to watch people float down a river of poop.
Yep. I always think of how people feel to tie it locally. Now, this is the small fraction of what the undertaking is for the Olympics, I imagine. But when you start talking to the CWS organizers at the tail end of the event,
Whoa,
and
you just compared the College World Series
I
and the
did.
Olympics?
Yes, I did. That's one section of the city, one
That is a
major
hell of a meet.
event.
That is hardcore parkour.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you see how spent those people are? That times like 50? Yeah. I think that would be a bit taxing. Now, obviously, they have a much bigger reach than what our fine folks here in Omaha do with that event. But I don't envy anybody that's involved in having to host or put that on. And obviously, Los Angeles will feel that here very soon. So you mentioned the train systems too. I think the one thing that everybody always talked about in the 1980 Olympics in Lake Placid was also their transport. And it wasn't anything.
I remember
that
our
was,
shows back then.
It was.
I remember one thing from that Olympics.
Yeah, well, yeah.
That's
That's how I learned about the transportation system in Lake Placid. That was so bad that you couldn't get anywhere on time. It was awful. That essentially that hockey game with the Soviets was basically not an early leave, but it was a Dodger late arriving crowd because the transportation, the bus systems was just, they were, and it wasn't an attack on anything. And it wasn't because it was awful weather. It was because they were so ill prepared on the influx of people that they had to get from place to place. And it just was not conducive. So good luck, Paris.
People are sleeping on cardboard beds.
Could be comfortable.
I think it's cut down on the Tinder activity. I mean,
well,
let's be honest.
Hey,
you're trying to.
If you're feeling it, you're feeling it.
You know, you're trying to get into German.
Mm-hmm.
Cardboard bed, a little bit difficult. Just a little hat tip for everybody out there that's trying that approach this weekend. But they're also, I mean, the one thing that has drawn me in today, and he's done running, is Snoop Dogg carried the torch.
Yep.
Because when I think of Frenchmen, I think of so many different legendary Frenchmen. Snoop Dogg is right there. Snoop Dogg is global.
Les Snoop.
Yep.
I mean,
you're right.
Everybody knows Snoop.
Monsieur Snoop.
You've made it when you are known in France and Snoop. But the Olympics are here. I don't know. I will watch certain events. I probably will not watch on a daily basis. And the main thing I care about is my bet total that the U.S. will get to 123 medals.
There you go.
And they will beat China.
I love that number.
And every time that we're playing for gold, it's red, white, and blue all the way.
Mm-hmm. Even if it's in shooting or in sailing, which is also something that
a banger by Christopher Cross.
There are a bunch of new sports that you maybe only watch every 4 years that you have no idea existed, but in the Olympics they exist. Which I always think would be cool, like if they would take some of the winter sports and put them in the summer, and vice versa.
I'm really excited too with
where you ski and then you shoot.
Oh, that's my favorite one in the winter.
Water skiing.
What's the one in the winter where you're doing the ski and then you stop, you shoot, keep going?
Biathlon?
Is that the biathlon? Yeah, that one's fun to watch. I honestly have no idea how. I'm assuming you grow up somewhere where you're a very outdoorsman person or female, and you obviously ski, but you also hunt. That's my criteria. You got to be able to have precision when it comes to shooting your game, or in this case, a target too.
I agree with Tim here. He says there's only one Olympics. It's the beer Olympics.
Fair.
I absolutely agree. And that takes some practice. It takes time of years of training. It also is an endurance test.
It is.
So very similar to what the Olympians are going through over in Paris. But, I mean, like the general track and field, gymnastics, swimming are everybody's favorite.
Not enough to talk about the official hype man for the USA water polo team.
And that would be?
Flavor Flav. See, all that's about Snoop.
That's right. I did see he was being interviewed today.
Yep, all about Snoop, but people forget Flavor
Jesus.
Flav is the official hype man for USA water polo.
Is that the impression that the French have of the U.S. is we're just one damn reality show?
Pretty much.
Maybe that's what the U.S.
It's real life.
That's what people in America think, that the U.S. is just one damn reality
I don't think
show.
it's, I don't think it's just beyond that.
All right, it is we'll call it a Football Friday because we're going to talk some football.
I wondered if you thought that. I was thinking that too. We can call it a Football Friday now.
Football talking days are wrapped up. Did you guys know? I don't know if this dawned on many people that the ACC was having their media days at the same time as the Big Ten.
They did. They started a day early, but yes, they were on Monday.
They got no run.
Nope. Once Big Ten started. Yeah. Once Tuesday started, they were like, oh yeah.
I saw nothing really nationally about the ACC. Other than Mike Norvell was being interviewed like in a hotel room.
Yeah.
By multiple members of the media, and he was like sitting by the window.
No, you're right, because it felt
the hell?
It felt like 2 weeks ago when I think the only major thing that came out was when Jim Phillips mentioned that as much as they love Florida State and Clemson, they're really going to fight to keep them around, and they're going to fight against Clemson and Florida State. Since then, the only thing I heard was Stanford player compared playing at Clemson, compared it to playing in Autzen. That's the only thing I got from that. He said, yeah, we played in big venues like that.
What they need is a PJ Fleck who, man, brother. I love the energy. You got to take a breath when you're speaking.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday, he was 15 minutes nonstop.
I got two questions in?
There were 2 questions for him.
Yep.
All the plan.
But, man, PJ, you got to take a breath, my man. I mean, you don't have to tell me about everything you've done this summer. He was going non-stop. He was filibustering.
He was.
You know what
I thought Dan Lanning was at first, but then I realized PJ Fleck is like, I got you. I'll see your 9 minutes and raise you 12.
And PJ Fleck is like a lot of us, where we say we're not for everybody.
Yeah,
Kinda
and he
like
said that.
Kind of like the Nebraska tourism slogan, is the way he was filibustering, bring him to the unicameral. We're day 2 of the special session.
That's right.
Have Fleck just get on the floor and just talk. But
we need that property tax go down.
My man, he was going nonstop. And I saw, so there's a video that's been released. They were doing stuff with the coaches.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if this was Minnesota in-stadium centric, but I guess they were asking coaches, how would you hype up your crowd?
Oh.
And of course, PJ Fleck probably went over the top in the video that I saw of hyping up the crowd.
What would make you think that?
I don't know what other questions they had, like in that private Big Ten network. Let's ask your favorite Christmas jingle.
Or what sport would you be good at in the Olympics? That was the big popular one. Yeah.
If you were a dwarf, what would you be? One of the 7 dwarfs, not just a regular dwarf.
I'd be
like one of the 7 dwarfs.
Sleepy.
Is Pissy one of them?
He did give us, though,
grumpy.
a very good nugget, and I actually want to try this when he gave us the EA Sports hack of Ariante Irsay. Said if you move him from tackle to tight end, he goes from he's the highest ranked. Is it the highest rated offensive lineman? Can't be right. I don't know. He gave his number, but he said if you want a hack, you put the left tackle, Ariante Irsay, over to tight end, and he becomes an instant 99. He said it's true. I really want to test him on that and see if that is actually a fact or if that's just PJ, doing PJ Fleck things. But yeah, I thought Dan Lanning, I'm like, okay, Dan Lanning's, I think he went for 9 minutes before he opened it up to questions. And PJ Fleck came and blew that right out of the water. Between the two of those guys, their opening statements were 20 minutes. Pretty impressive.
That's what Scott Frost said. Here's the lineup for the show, brought to you by the referees at John Higgins Weather Guard. Brett Ciancia from Pick 6 Previews, our friend who has been coming on the show for, I think this will be our 8th year.
See, now it feels like football.
We'll now kick off our coverage, and his preview is out. It is fantastic. It is also spiral bound. So we will tell you more on how you can get that into your hot little hands. But Brett will be in as we talk some ball, y'all, a month out from the season. SIP is a yay or a nay?
Yeah. Yeah.
We missed Sip yesterday because he was getting on a plane.
Mm-hmm.
Assuming that plane returned,
Well,
he'll be here.
I heard a couple of our friends that were in Indianapolis that flew. There were some travel nightmares. Listen.
And it's just Indianapolis.
Well, I think it's just commercial jet travel right now is brutal. Absolutely brutal. People are getting stuck in Chicago. One colleague was told he couldn't get back until Sunday from Chicago into Omaha.
Ooh, I just stay the weekend.
So he paid the extra $300 to get on a flight yesterday morning.
Just rent a car and drive.
I'd just stay. Are the Cubs in town this weekend?
No, they're actually in Kansas City.
Oh,
a huge Cub contingent at the K tonight.
I've been to those.
Tomorrow and Sunday.
Yeah.
Plus, it's Patrick Mahomes bobblehead day.
Oh.
So we think we have Sip, and then Mike Schaefer will join us at 9. Appropriate that Schaefer will join us because what have I said for the longest time that's nice about Matt Rule and what they do in recruiting? They use all of their resources
the resources
that are available
there
to
you
them.
Go. Yeah.
So this weekend is a barbecue. I think people, if you said, would you rather pay $25 to come watch recruits eat or $25 to watch a full padded practice? You would get some people that would pause and go, ooh, I would like to watch David Sanders mow some ribs.
Yeah.
Or Michael Terry sprint to the potato salad. But Nebraska has their big barbecue before the season kicks off. It's like around college football, this is a monster weekend. But this is one of the bigger weekends that Nebraska football has ever had when you get 2 5-stars in Michael Terry, and then you get David Sanders. And so the big offensive tackle, the number 1 offensive tackle in the country, the number 2 player overall, is coming back to Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
He was here in the spring, brought the whole family. Trust me, there's a lot of family members that come with the Sanders. So he will take 2 visits this weekend to Nebraska, and then he goes to Tennessee. And here we go, because Dylan Raiola, who was not here when David Sanders first visited, is here, and yesterday put out that tweet that he is going to come to Omaha tomorrow and pick him up, and then they're going to be outside of the football facility when, what do you say, about 5:15?
Yeah.
Come greet him. This is, first of all, kudos to a kid that it makes perfect sense. I'm the quarterback. I want a guy protecting me. I want to win, so I'm going to do everything in my power to acquire as many top-level players as possible to help us achieve our goal, and also leadership in the front, not in the back, for a kid that hasn't played a game at Nebraska when the scoreboard has been on. But he's about to find out something, and this is like the power of the biggest resource that Nebraska football has. It isn't a big checkbook. It isn't 5 trophies. It isn't a flashy facility. It is the mere fact of the fans. Some coaches run away from it. Others embrace it. Others try and embrace it, and they don't understand how it all works. And then eventually it's too much, and they pull the old, Heisman, Johnny the Jet Rodgers pose against the fans, and they block them out. The head coach has not done that, and now they have tapped into their biggest resource to try and get what would be the biggest get in recruiting in a long, long time. I absolutely love it. I don't know if it's going to work.
Yeah.
I think you got to go a 2-prong approach, but we're about to find out that there is no place like Nebraska, because you ask some people to do stuff, they'll come do it. There will be fans that will be there tomorrow, and then there will be curious onlookers to see how many people are there. But man, it's taken so long to use the number 1 resource that football program has. And Dylan Raiola, smart kid. His tweet yesterday, look at the likes and the reposts and the people responding to it. Damn.
Well, and he's experienced it himself. He knows that following. He knows how important it is. I mean, I always joke around when I talked about after the one Sunday afternoon basketball game that this was back when Dylan hadn't committed even to Georgia yet. And there's people that I know that I'm friends with on Facebook that are married women in their mid-late 30s that are taking selfies with Dylan Raiola Like the amount of star power you feel like you have, especially when you're someone of that magnitude when it comes to your recruiting stock. So he experienced it. He knows it. He knows how powerful that can be. And the fact that he's going to be the Uber driver going to Omaha to pick him up and then bringing him over there and hoping that they're going to have this big, fanfare, this big welcome to Nebraska. And I especially liked how he said, as we bring him in all caps home.
Well, he's tried.
People will respond.
So he's tried before. So when Raiola committed to Ohio State, he tried to get David Sanders to commit to Ohio State. And the families are very, very close. So it's not like this is all new.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, what's the difference between Nebraska's approach, Tennessee's approach? What does he want?
Yeah. And I know Tennessee is this weekend as well for Sanders. So this is always that interesting thing because what is he? He's deciding on August 17th. Who gets the last impression, the most recent impression, how that works, who might be favored in that, what your intel, if you're Tennessee, what your intel tells you of what he experienced at Nebraska, so you can try to one-up that. I mean, there's always going to be that going on, but...
You know how you one-up it? So, again, I think both of them better be ready to take a lot of pictures and sign autographs because there's going to be a lot of stuff going on. Remember, you have the 7-on-7 girls camp, so there's going to be a lot of people already down there, and fans will show up. Fans will show up. So I hope they're ready to take pictures and sign autographs. But here's the two-prong approach that I would use with Tennessee getting the last visit, and it's Nebraska and Tennessee. That's who it's come down to, is I would drive the equipment truck. The Nebraska equipment truck that convinced Grant Bricks that he should be a Husker.
It's like,
I would drive, or, they drove it to Ainsworth.
Yeah.
I would drive that thing to Neyland Stadium. And I would park that puppy outside of Neyland Stadium.
I love that.
And then I would lose the keys.
You got to move this. We don't know where the keys are.
Is it still Selden Trucking?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
Yes.
Whoever is driving it, I would park it and I would walk away. What are they going to do? Tow it?
No.
Okay.
There's certain things you can't tow.
I would drive that thing to Knoxville. I would park it outside of Neyland Stadium. I would walk away, come back late Sunday night, pick it up, drive back to Nebraska.
I love that. And even if you did try to tow it, how much of an issue that would cause, that would just create a lot of eyeballs anyway. So go ahead and try and tow it. That thing has actually won some pretty good recruiting battles. You're right. It's been able to have its impact. So I thought maybe you were going to say, now he would obviously need a CDL, Dylan would, but drive that to the airport.
No, we don't need that.
Yeah.
I'm worried about him getting beat up against Colorado. I don't need him driving some semi through the Smoky Mountains.
Unless you
I've driven through the Smoky Mountains before. That's not fun. Then you're in the semi. They have those. Have you ever driven?
Yeah, I've never driven one. No.
So no, but have you driven in the Smoky Mountains?
Yeah. Oh no.
Okay, so you have like the area where trucks that are can't brake.
Yeah, so it's the grade of it.
Yes.
Yep.
So they can pull off and they can go. Yeah. I don't think we need our quarterback doing that.
But if you had an experienced driver, Dylan rides shotgun, and then they pick him up, and he's just sitting there right next to the truck, like, "Welcome, buddy." I mean, that's kind of a flex. That's kind of cool, and knowing that he doesn't have to drive it either.
Ooh, those people in Knoxville, man, we saw them during the College World Series. We might not get our quarterback back.
They're still drunk.
But there is the other thing about this, and Nebraska has a huge weekend. And especially with David Sanders, unlike a couple other prospects, like Mosey has been here a lot, and now his dad is here, and he's on campus this weekend, is Nebraska has made up ground in a short amount of time. Like the Tennessees, the Ohio States, and the Georgias have been recruiting Sanders for a long time. Nebraska has been recruiting him, but in much shorter time to get to this point where they have a seat at the table. They're at least in the game.
Mm-hmm.
They understand how the game works. But whatever happens this weekend, whether Nebraska has a monumental weekend that is a weekend program changer with guys that commit that are legit dudes that hop on the field and help you win games and get to your ultimate goal, whether they end up with many, whether they end up with just one, there is something that we're all going to have to encounter. And I brought this up covering this program for a long time, and the good and the bad and the ugly, is first of all, it is very refreshing to have a steady hand that is running the football program, where you can see a plan. They do things that get you excited. They're selling sunshine and hopefully turn it into success right away. But it's a steady hand. It's not like helter-skelter, like, okay?
Yeah,
It's not like you're driving on the Dodge Expressway in rush hour around here, okay? What you're doing with Nebraska football is a leisurely drive on Highway 6 as you drive by and you wave at people coming by and you honk at Lenoma Beach, because that's what you do as a Nebraskan when you pass the tower at Lenoma Beach. Okay, so that's the steady hand.
It is a beautiful light tower. You're right.
Here's my analogy.
On your way to the Parker House.
This is Nebraska football, and this is refreshing. It sucks that it took so long, but Nebraska football finally picked a lane. For the longest time, they drove in one lane, and the car could not go faster, or people were passing it by, or the car was starting to break down, and you had your hazards on. And that's the person that we all hate on 80.
Yes.
We're like, screw that
You're
guy.
like, what the hell are you doing, man?
So Nebraska, and they didn't know. And then, then I think Bo wanted to drive in the middle of the road, and that's really not allowed. Okay. And then one time he got into the fast lane. He's like, we can't go as fast as we want to go.
Too many people were riding up alongside him.
Let's slide back into that middle lane.
Yep.
This program has finally picked a lane that they want to be in, that they're comfortable being in, and they're not going to get out of that lane. And are they on a 2-lane highway, or are they on a 3-lane highway? Are they on a 4-lane expressway? Who knows? But they finally picked a lane. And this is what we're all going to have to deal with if this program pops. What sells? What sells for Nebraska football right now? Not the Frank Solich throwback jersey.
The fans.
The fans sell, but you know what sells the most? And it's lingered for a while. It's the Dallas Cowboy effect. People love to talk about the Dallas Cowboys. Okay? They love to talk about them.
Yeah.
We know what we talk about around here. But defeatism sells. Negativity sells.
Thank you.
We may not like it. We may be like, oh my God, please can you beat Georgia Southern? Defeatism sells. That's what sells Cowboys. That's what sold Nebraska. Whether you like it or not, we're attracted to defeatism. And not going to happen. We might have to make an adjustment here where, there's actually something different that is going on in a transition.
This is deep.
Well, I don't mean to make it deep to start the show and hit you with this at 6:35, but
you're not wrong.
Think about it. That is what has been. That defeatism drives a lot of the conversation.
Yeah, no, you're right.
And defeatism drives a lot of the interest, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
Now
we have a show for you.
When you start to win things, how do you react? We might have to have a refresher on what's it like to win things when you're following a program that hasn't won anything in 7 years.
Okay, so Gary,
except for just embarrassment.
In my time of sports talk, there was always a level of defeatism because it was essentially, it was during the Bill Callahan era. And then so you evolved to the Bo Pelini era. And really other than 2009, now, again, technically there's still a loss in the Big 12 championship, but that felt like, okay, things were really pushing in the right direction. But there was always a level of defeatism. I always remember this, and I know you went through this as well. Anytime Nebraska would lose the one of 3 games they might lose, you knew that Monday was going to be a very active show because everybody was going to have opinions of what went wrong. So there was that defeatism at that level. The level that we're at now is it's become almost to the point that, the apathy would set in. Now, I'm not saying that right now because I think even with a 5-7 season last year, there is so much optimism and excitement based on what they're seeing taking place there and trying to build this thing back up. But it got to a point where you're right. Everyone was they're very defeated of, oh, geez, yep, here we go. Got our hopes up again. And then you see what happens. But people wanted to talk about that. People wanted to commiserate about that. People wanted to try to get to the root of it. Everybody had the answer in their opinion of why it's happening and what can change. It's the only time that I remember, and this was in mid-late 90s when I was in high school, when Nebraska was unbeatable. When Nebraska, even when they would lose, it was like a fluke. That I remember it just became, it was something you took for granted. So for a large part of it was probably kind of boring. It probably was, as far as what we do. You're praised and talking about this great team, and then all of a sudden, whoa, what happened to Colorado? What happened in that game? What the hell? You're blindsided maybe for a moment, but then they come back and go on like a tour, not in that year, but they come back, maybe they drop a game, come back, go 2, 3, 4 wins in a row against some decent teams. You're like, yeah, that was just a fluke. Now you do need a refresher course if this is to take off the way that we hope and think that it could. But I do think, I said this to my wife, I think 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
She kind of laughed at one point. Nebraska, they had another comical laugh. It was actually in the 2021 season. And they had another comical loss where there was close. They had the game, and then
they only lost 8 conference games.
Right. She goes, Jesus, of course they lost. And I said, she goes, well, at least always the same thing. Well, at least your Monday is going to be eventful. I said, you know what? It's actually getting really old. I said, this whole narrative, whether we're talking about a team that's losing or a team that's losing close games and can't quite get over the hump, it's getting really old. I think people are ready for that conversation to change. And I think people will bask in it. So I think it's actually exciting. I think that would be very, very exciting and attractive.
The other thing this weekend, I would love, this won't happen because we don't have transparency. I would love to see the tracking from the time of the tweet through the weekend of, I don't need to know the number, like the financial number, but I would like to know the donation interactions that will be coming to 1890.
It's a good question. Yeah.
That since the tweet, how many donations? Again, I don't know the money, but I would just we had 1,000 people.
Yeah.
That bought a membership or donated, whatever.
Yeah,
got involved with 1890.
Threw in $50. Buy myself a tackle.
Folks, it's real. Ross Bjork said, our roster cost $20 million. I said that Rule likes reward and retention, but Rule's also not stupid. He knows that to be competitive, you got to play the game, and you're going to have to play the game. You just want to know what the field looks like to play that game. So it's not like Nebraska is shying away. I think at the end of the day, Matt Rule's a football guy that would love traditional recruiting to be the center of relationship building, and you sell the program and you get the sale instead of I get the sale and the selection because I have the biggest bag.
Right.
But don't kid yourself. He's not stupid in this. He knows he's going to have to pay to play.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they have a plan. I wish, David Sanders doesn't do a ton of interviews. What does he want? At the end of the day, what is he looking for if you compare Nebraska and Tennessee? Let's take out the financial part of it. What does he want at the end of the day? Quick route to the NFL, playing time, coaches, head coach, culture, family, all of those kind of things. We're going to find out this weekend because they sold family when he was here the first time.
Yeah.
And again, he has a large family.
I was reading just his mother's conversation that she's having with the On 3 guys, and in both occasions with Tennessee and Nebraska, that was brought up. And I did like where she had mentioned they didn't realize it, and it must have been said to them the way that she put it, that he is the highest ranked prospect to ever visit Nebraska in the internet era, not in the modern football, not in the NIL. In the internet era. Again, I was still in high school when the internet era took off. And this is where I love that he's got that relationship with Dylan, because it might have been you who brought this up a while back when Sanders came down to his Final Four. Nebraska was on it. If it wasn't you, it was somebody else who mentioned this, and I thought, you know what, this is always something that we sometimes forget when you're a 5-star prospect and you can go anywhere. You're going to get the bag. You're going to get a lot of different things thrown at your feet wherever you go. But is there still that motivating factor similar to what Dylan threw out there of wanting to do something different, meaning, I could go to Alabama or I could go to Tennessee and I could have that pathway right to the NFL, going to be competing for national championships, or there's this thing going on in Lincoln with a coach and a coaching staff and a fan base that is on the cusp of getting back to winning seasons, getting back to just being a lot of fun out there. I'm getting developed at the same point. And as I'm in that whole system, I'm part of what is taking place. I'm more highly revered at this place than I would ever be at Tennessee and Alabama, because they're just used to getting guys like me all the time, as opposed to a place like Nebraska where I can make a major impact, and that will be remembered for decades. If that's sold to you and you really you believe in that coaching staff and you believe in that vision and you believe that, yeah, I want to be part of something different and be a part of that. But the other thing is, I truly feel that is going to happen. Not, well, this is their vision, as opposed to, I can see this with my own eyes that this is going to be coming and I could be a part of that. I'm curious if that still has its place. We know it did with Dylan, but we also know the connections with Dylan Raiola as well. Can that work for a guy that could go anywhere, but would be another one of those guys in a system like Alabama, as opposed to Nebraska, where if it works for you and the whole thing works for Matt Rule, you get to be a part of that. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, Nebraska at some point has to stop being Katherine Heigl.
I'd really love you to explain Katherine Heigl.
27 dresses, bridesmaid.
I'm glad that's where you went and not the other thing that I thought.
I was thinking of the other thing.
All right. It's time to put a ring on that finger. All right. Be one slot down on the altar instead of the wrong way.
Yeah.
At some point, you can get as many prospects as you want. You need to get where the priest is looking you in the eye and not wearing the bridesmaid's dress. Okay? That's what Katherine Heigl, she had 27 of them. Nebraska's not to 27 in this recruiting cycle. They've had some, good-looking prospects have been wearing the dress. Well, Nebraska, I guess, has been wearing the dress.
Yeah.
And they've been watching, certain prospects get married. I mean, maybe this is the weekend, but the fact that they have a seat at the table is at least a good sign when you haven't won yet. And I think it's fair to say out loud, and you can roll, people don't like Nebraska, you can roll your eyes, but this is the truth. This is the God honest truth here. It is fair to say out loud what happens if they are able to go from selling sunshine to success, and success on the field and success in the NFL.
Yep.
It's fair to say that out loud. Don't say, "Oh, yeah, I hear that." No, because they're selling sunshine, and boy, that sunshine must look pretty good. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, I went to spring break. Okay, some jabroni on the street scammed me. He sold me sunshine in a can. I opened up the can and it looked like it was just normal.
Just an empty can?
Yeah. So I think it's fair to say all of that.
I'm sorry, man.
All right. Also, we did a internal poll of the Big Ten, the 1 through 18, and our offensive and defensive player of the year with everybody that's on the zone. We'll share that with you towards the end of the show. So we have lots of football talk, a wrap from the Big Ten Media Days, and other things that do not involve recruiting around Nebraska football. And something happened yesterday that got little run whatsoever, even though it was the 324th time it has happened.
The 324th
no-hitter?
The Dylan Cease no-hitter? That's 324?
Yep.
I knew it was only his second in Padres history. And if anybody who knows me knows that back in 2019, I could not say enough good things about Dylan Cease. Thought the dude would be a freaking stud. And I'm sure if you weren't watching the game, you switched over when you knew that it was happening. That last ball that was hit, just like in 2022, was against the Twins. Yeah. And then that one actually was, as soon as it came off the bat, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. It's happened. I'm kind of a Dylan Cease sicko, because I think he's very, very good. I thought he was very, very good a very long time.
His last 3 starts, he's made a lot of people sick.
Yeah. He's pumping 100 in the 9th.
I would hope that in the San Diego Union Tribune this morning, that on the front page they have cease and desist.
Or cease to exist. Well,
okay. It's mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone. Welcome back in. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Jimmy will get you an update coming up here in a little bit as we come to you on a football Friday on the 26th of July. It's also a National Tequila Day.
Oh, on a Friday.
Yes. Wow, funny how that works, right?
Yeah. And then remember how National Friday was on a Friday? I see what they're doing.
They're in cahoots.
Hey, us Americans love us some tequila. Tequila is everywhere. People, I think you've made it. One, if you're on a cereal box. One, if you're carrying the torch in the Olympics. And if you have a tequila.
Yeah.
So tequila suppliers took in $6.5 billion in revenue in the U.S. last year.
Oh. So that business is thriving.
About 20 years. Because tequila about 20 years ago, didn't seem to be as popular as it is now. And now it's booming. So it is National Tequila Day. So celebrate accordingly. I feel like it'd be a great one for sip.
I don't know if this is an age thing too, but I feel like two separate spirits, if you will. Tequila being one of them, and then bourbon. And maybe it's just because in the last 3 or 4 years of my life, I've taken a liking to bourbon a little bit more. I know people that don't just enjoy tequila in a margarita or in a shot anymore. Now it's actually, they'll have it in a Paloma. They'll have it in a different mixed cocktail. They'll actually have, if it's a very good tequila, they will have it on ice.
Some people just pull it out of the fridge and drink it at 5:47 this morning.
Oof.
Jimmy?
Is that what you did?
You know what? I usually
You're very detailed on that time. Yeah, and you were driving afterwards. What the hell, Gary? Come on, I know it's Friday.
He's not Mike Gundy. Sure, he's fine.
Just a little pick me up.
Yeah.
Was it Cuervo?
Oh, who hasn't? Like right before you go into work, just
had some tequila.
Just one of the like a little fireball shot.
I've done some things.
Just little fireball, the little ones.
I can honestly say, well,
no, I stopped by Bob's Fresh and Tidy Mart over there on Leavenworth or whatever it's called today. I don't know. It changes like every day. That name of the place changes. Like you can go in there and you can get your lottery tickets.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the place where they try to upsell you.
Yeah. And then right there is, whoa, that's only 99 cents.
Yeah.
What the hell?
You're like, I need that. Just take a shooter?
Not every day.
Okay.
I haven't done it in a while.
Just when you need one.
Not
well,
judgment.
I was on a fireball kick for a while.
Oh, man. On the golf course?
Oh.
Everywhere.
Oh.
Like while people were saying fireball is awful, I'm like, it's great. You can have your shrimp cocktail at St. Elmo's to clear out the pipes. Fireball clears out the pipes for me.
Okay, I'm not going to disagree with that because I once had actually 3 hot toddies before calling a game because I had a throat thing. Didn't work, but I felt good.
Do you have that tape?
Yeah, actually, it was probably better.
Pour Fireball on ice cream this weekend.
I do not, and see, I'm going to be in a golf tournament tomorrow in good old Seatown.
It'll be warm,
and the person that I'm playing with, he is a big proponent of Fireball, and we're happening to stay in Columbus. He and myself are staying there tomorrow night, so we don't necessarily have to worry about driving back.
Mm-hmm.
You guys can go see Twisters?
That's probably what we'll end up doing. As much as I will resist, it's unfortunately part of the golf thing. Uh-oh, what's happening? Uh-oh.
Yeah, our guy is back in our parking lot.
Yeah. Does he have does he have the teal stick?
No, he has a cup.
Oh God.
So I know you like.
I got to quit parking over there.
So I got one for you here. I like to experiment, and we're beginning next month. We are with the Whiskey Fest.
Yes.
So we're gonna do a lot of variations of whiskey leading up to the end of September with Whiskey Fest.
That.
You like mules?
I love mules.
Have you ever done a tequila mule?
Yeah.
So you just you take out the vodka and you replace it with
tequila, Mexican mule.
You guessed it, tequila.
Mm-hmm. It's very good. Irish mule is great. Mexican mule, obviously everyone knows of just the Moscow mule with vodka. But yeah, the Mexican mule is very good. Just make sure that you.
Yeah, for people that are driving by the radio station here on Dodge, our friend is meeting people in the street, so just be careful as you drive by. He is the guy that lives in our parking lot.
Could he get email addresses for the zone?
Sometimes he does at least make it appear that he might walk into traffic. So just never know.
So just stay home today. Enjoy. It's a summer Friday. It's gorgeous. The video game is out.
But back to the Mexican Mule.
Oh, it's tequila day?
One of the great tequila drinks, though, over the last 2 years that I've enjoyed, ranch water. But not the stuff you buy that's already pre-made.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's tequila, and you could either have the Topo Chico, their seltzer water, which you can obviously get here. And so basically it's a good tequila, seltzer water, and just a little lime in there. It's very refreshing. And if you're making it an all-day thing, you're not going to feel heavy. It's nice and keeps you light on your toes.
You can drink more.
Yeah, absolutely.
John, into
drink
the
more,
Equitable Bank inbox where they take banking personally. Due to some past indiscretions, I can't even smell tequila without feeling nauseous.
John,
understandable.
I was with you.
Minus Goldschlager.
Oh yeah,
Lakes of Death.
Rumplemans for me. You guys remember Black House? It was like a blackberry. It was like Jaeger's blackberry version. Oh, it was awful.
Sounds like a headache.
Yeah, it was bad. But so the first year I would have been legally of age to drink, we went down to Billy Frog's. And this is when, you're 21, you're like, we got to experience every drinking opportunity. Well, it happened to be Cinco de Mayo on a Saturday, which you can imagine where that went. So we had quite a few shots of Cuervo. And then, of course, you get hungry afterwards. And so as we were, I know I wasn't driving, but whoever was driving, we went to Hardee's and I got a spicy chicken sandwich because they were really cheap.
That made sense.
Yeah, sure did. And let's just say,
how was it coming back up?
Really bad, burned a lot, and it even came out of my nose.
Ooh.
From that point on, for at least a good solid year to maybe even 2 years, if I even smelled tequila, it was So, Brian, I'm with you, man. I know how it is. Finally, I got over it. I hope you do too. There is light at the end of the tunnel, but yes.
Código and Casamigos, fantastic. No headache when you drink a whole bottle during a Super Bowl.
You know what? Somebody got me onto Casamigos. Not bad.
That is good. Yep.
Not bad.
Put in some Fresca, no sugar. It's good for you.
The Rocks tequila isn't bad.
We did
a little bit heavy.
A few years ago. Now the bottle's interesting. If you get a chance, boys, just Google it. Asombroso tequila. It was pretty good. But the bottle
all right,
looks like a certain device. I'll just leave it at that.
Jimmy, bring it up.
Yep.
Just you pull up the bottle and see what it looks like to you. Just initial glance.
Ah, there we go. All right. What is it? And it is, oh my. You could really plug that in there.
Yep.
Hold on here. Are you gonna share that? Well, you do a little play-by-play on
he's on the work monitor.
Oh, I just did.
He's on the work monitor there.
I just did.
You got it?
It can plug some things up.
Asombroso, it's with an A. It's good tequila. It's very good tequila. And the bottle, let's just say it stands out.
Hey, it can be a good time.
Don't anybody blush.
She will.
When you're done.
Just saying what everyone's thinking.
I mean, for $50, you better get more than one use out of it.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely.
All right, we got an update coming up here in a little bit.
Though.
So enjoy National Tequila Day. We'll have more on the huge recruiting weekend that Nebraska is about to happen. And some other things from left over from Big Ten Media Day. An observation on two programs that I had watching the coverage from Indianapolis, and a question that I'm searching. I'm reading the transcripts that I did not see was asked to Matt Rule that I thought would be asked. We'll do all that as we roll till 10 on the opening day of the Olympics, where there'll be they drink tequila in France.
I
know that's not their drink.
I think it's more of like limoncello.
I was 17, so we had wine.
Yeah, probably a lot of vino, and I believe there's a lot of limoncello.
Heineken in the vending machines.
Which, if limoncello done right, it has whatever their version, or maybe it is actually it's a version of Everclear in there.
Oh, I had a stretch of Everclear.
No one should ever have a stretch of Everclear. If you just have one,
when I made the bath, when we did parties and we'd have the bathtub,
your bathtub swill,
we'd have Everclear in there.
So much for the afterglow.
Gosh,
you guys don't realize how good that tasted.
Oh,
and how convenient it was. If you're throwing a party,
I don't care. And
I don't care. I don't care if I was in college or today.
It's just disgusting, though. He's got out of a bathtub.
I don't know. Do I have
bathtub, Jen?
I got to think. Do I have a bathtub? Yeah, I guess I do have a bathtub.
Are you thinking about bringing it back?
Yeah, for a party.
Here. There's our anniversary.
You guys don't understand. When you are hosting a party,
yeah,
okay, and you're charging $5 for every cup,
yeah,
10 for dudes,
yeah,
you got to make it convenient where they can just get in, they can scoop the drink, and they move on.
2 to stand, 4 to sit. Yep.
Hey,
exactly.
One of the best things.
People are pissing in there.
No, we had 2 bathrooms, and also,
so that one was off limits.
Also, well, we had 2 bathrooms. That one was off limits. But if like dudes went out in the backyard.
Oh, that's true.
We didn't make the ladies go out in the backyard.
That's
but
good.
You got to understand,
hardcore
when
ones do though.
We want volume. So the best thing that ever happened, among other things, when I was 21 and living in the house at 26th and W in Lincoln with 7 other guys, and we all turned 21 in the same year.
Is that house still there?
No, they tore it down.
Sorry.
Well, it was on its last legs when we were living there in the 90s.
She had bagpipes when I did it.
Whenever we'd have one of the big parties, that would require us to clean that bathroom. Other than that, it never got cleaned. Because you had 8 dudes living there.
Yeah, I can relate.
Or if somebody's girlfriend had finally lost it and they're like, I'm going to clean this. And we're like,
yeah, cool.
Okay. Oh, we were going to do it, but if you want to do it, go ahead.
Actually, I was going to do it later, but.
No, this is how it happens.
We'll order pizza.
We had one of the roommates was in that bathroom. He was sitting on the toilet. The lid was closed. And people would walk in. They just put their cup into the bathtub. They would scoop it and they would move on. And it was efficient, man. It was in and out.
I've just never heard of that.
Well, because when you would go to parties,
we always had the big Gatorade buckets of the jungle juice.
We had the
which
trash
I'm assuming
can.
is
Jungle juice.
very similar to what you're describing because it had Everclear in it too. But they were the huge Gatorade buckets of it.
But we made it in the bathtub. People didn't even think twice. That's how good it was.
Well, Everclear kills all the germs. If
No,
anything,
that's not how good it was. That's just how dumb we were. That's how dumb we are at that age.
Nope. Volume.
A little bit of both.
Volume.
So gross.
Light your bushes on
So
fire.
did you? Is it like chapstick? You never get to the very bottom of it before you buy a new one. Did you guys ever clear the whole thing out with the amount of jungle juice people consumed, or did you have to drain it?
Well, I don't remember. I was
was it just ice?
I was never the one in the bathroom.
Okay.
I helped make it, but I didn't hang out in there.
I mean, that's a lot of jungle juice.
I imagine you had to make the rounds.
Bathtub. Oh, he's checking cars now. Oh boy.
I think he's okay. He just.
We can go out in the break, get his prediction on the Huskers.
No, we just have a friend that hangs out in our parking lot, and I don't want him to walk out into the street.
Yeah.
Or steal that car that
he's
about to pop the hood on a car.
You realize my car is 5 cars away right now too.
I'm near yours.
Someone's hollering.
Oh yeah,
at
you're
him.
right next.
Someone is hollering at him. All right.
What?
We'll take
the sweet morning show.
We'll take a break. I'm gonna go out and try and help the guy.
I bet he's got him going 9-3.
He's really eyeing that that car.
And we also are we share a parking lot with a yoga studio, which has a lot of young people that come here early in the morning. All right.
Oh, looks like he's moving on.
Coming back.
Nope, coming back.
All right. Good first hour,
It's
everybody.
great play-by-play here.
Great first.
Well,
you haven't lost him.
I'm worried about the guy.
Yeah.
Okay. Last time we had to get him out of the street.
Mm-hmm.
He was the Orbit Bus Greeting Committee. All right, 7:06. Just truth. Jimmy's got an update coming up next on 1620 The Zone.
All right, fun day at work. Everybody's celebrating National Tequila Day as they should. The Storm Chasers fall behind in the first inning and trailed the entire night as they fall to the St. Paul Saints 5-2 last night. Omaha starter Andrew Hoffman fell in an early hole. He was down in a hole as he surrendered a pair of runs in the first on 3 hits and 2 walks. As the Saints send 8 batters to the plate in the opening frame. That's a lot. St. Paul tagged Hoffman for an additional run in the second, 1 earned run in the fourth as the righty took his 5th loss in the season. He closed the book on Kellner, thank God. Tagged for 4 runs, 5 hits, 3 walks, and 4 innings. Can't win them all. John Rave, C.J. Alexander, Tyler Gentry each collected 2 hits in the loss. Alexander, team leading, 28th multi-hit game of the season. He's good. Omaha will look to even the series at 2 wins tonight at 7:07 with Chandler Champlain, starting for the home team, which is actually the road team tonight. Baseball, sad for the Tampa Bay Rays, but it's all right for the Mariners. The Mariners, starving for offense, in desperate need of a spark and not able to acquire Ken Griffey Jr., have acquired Randy Arozarena from the Tampa Bay Rays. He's really damn good. The two lower level minor leaguers, outfielder Aiden Smith, right-hander Brody Hopkins, will go to the Rays in the trade, as will a player to be named later, the famous player to be named later. Arozarena in the midst of a down year, as are the Rays, only batting .211 with 15 home runs, 16 stolen bases in his first 100 games. Watch, he's going to light it up the rest of the year. Arguably the most coveted outfielder in this year's trade market for all his abilities, and everyone remembers what he did in 2020 and at the World Baseball Classic last year. Again, really good. Canadian Olympic Committee CEO, this is in here because the Olympics start today, David Shoemaker said new information from Soccer Canada showed suspended women's head coach Bev Priestman was likely aware of the drone use that has caused a scandal at the Paris Olympics. The Olympics pick up right where they leave off. The COC removed head coach Priestman on Thursday. Oh, Canadian Olympic. I thought I was talking about corrosion of conformity. Anyway, Nick and I have been talking 90s here today. Following her suspension by Canada Soccer following complaints from New Zealand that Canada flew drones over 2 of their training sessions. Assistant Andy Spence will coach Canada for the remainder of the games. You're cheating to win early soccer. Shoemaker also said he is comfortable with Canada's women's team remaining in Paris to defend their Olympic gold medal, amid rumblings that the team should be disqualified over the drone scandal that thrusts the team into the national spotlight. Baseball, the Padres' Dylan Cease throws the Major League's second no-hitter of the season, and it was a day game. Cease, now 10-8, struck out 9, walked 3. The right-hander's 3rd complete game in 145 big league starts, as opposed to the good old days when Nolan Ryan would have 145 complete games and 145 big league starts. Anyway, he threw a career-high 114 pitches in a game that included a 1-hour, 16-minute rain delay in the first. Finally, first heard of this guy at the All-Star game. He's pretty good. Many people don't know. Finally, Athletics All-Star closer Mason Miller broke the pinky finger on his non-pitching hand when he pounded a table in frustration. Another nominee for the Carlos Zambrano Award after he was reminded he had to do post-game lifting following Monday night's game against Houston. Okay, so dude got pissed, took it out on the table when they told him he had to do post-game lifting. Jose Canseco would be like, yeah, we all did post-game lifting. We were winning here. The 25-year-old right-hander, the hardest-throwing pitcher in the major leagues and the subject of trade speculation, was put on the 15-day injured list retroactive to Tuesday. No reports of the post-game lifting continued, even though he broke his pinky, which in reality probably got him out of said deal. Anyway, just like kids. MLB.com reported Miller was injured, putting his hand down awkwardly on the training table while getting ready to do an exercise. Based on what is said was information from his representative. MLB.com clarified his report after manager Mark Kotze, make you feel old, said that account was incorrect. He threw a tantrum because he didn't want to lift weights.
Well, we always know the wall is usually undefeated. Tables are probably a little bit more of a 60-40 proposition.
30-70 in Buffalo.
That's actually very, very true. But yeah, I would typically say the wall is undefeated.
Oh, and the Chiefs are started 2-0 because one of the Raiders rookies made fun of Patrick Mahomes with a Kermit doll.
The Kermit thing, yeah.
So yeah, just take the Chiefs, take them to cover all day, all the props.
Why do you do that?
Yeah, why?
So
Later, let's poke the bear.
I don't understand why you do that.
Is the Chiefs expert on the show?
Yeah.
I'm not going to.
They're going to lose to the Raiders now.
I'm not going to get overly dramatic about it. Now, I've noticed that the video has been deleted.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
this
they know what they've done.
This is what I think happened.
It was cute though.
First, let me remind you that Mahomes is 10-2 against the Raiders. He has thrown for 3,573 yards, 30 touchdowns, 4 interceptions in 12 games against the Raiders, and he has more postseason victories on the Raiders' home field than the Raiders actually have. The Raiders are a losing organization.
That's a great point.
I think this is what happened. I'm not going to get riled up about this.
You should.
Pat will do it
because
twice.
I looked at the Week 8 line; it still has not moved. I think what happened is a fan brought this Mahomes puppet to training camp, and a 7th round pick picked it up and had some fun with it.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not like the Raiders brought it onto the field, because that would just add to they're a losing organization.
Right.
You are losers, okay? Take another trip around Arrowhead on the bus and honk the horn. My guy is 10-2 against you. And you know what? I can't wait for when they play. Like, this isn't going to, like, oh my gosh, you got to beat him now, Pat. But,
now it's on.
But he's not going to overlook that game for sure.
But Mahomes is petty as hell.
Mm-hmm.
I can get behind petty.
He watches film.
You don't think
he watches
when
film.
they play the Raiders and he does something good that there might be a puppet motion when Mahomes throws a touchdown or something like that? So I'm not going to get riled up about this. I love rivalries. I love rivalries, and I love the fact that my quarterback at 28 years old with 3 is in so many people's head. Jamar Chase, Raiders fans. I mean, the only person that he won't be able to get in his head is Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, it's true.
Because Harbaugh has got a lot of things going on up there.
Yeah, it's just
so I'm not going to get riled up about that video, which has since been deleted from the loser organization.
There's a lot of yellow tape up there in Jim Harbaugh's head. It's just tough to infiltrate that area.
Rivalries are good.
Well, Max Crosby's probably like, God dang it. Come on, guys. As we all know, he watches film too. So,
and I hope they don't cut that kid that picked up the puppet, and he's a 7th round guy. I hope they make him stay until the Chiefs and the Raiders play, and then cut him.
Activated.
Cut him, and the Chiefs sign him. The biggest turn.
I think Antonio Pierce. I think Antonio Pierce is a football guy.
Yeah,
throw that guy up. Like here's our sacrifice. First play, go ahead and burn him, and then we're going to cut him during the game.
Like, we're good.
Hey,
Pat.
go ahead.
Hey, good game. Have a good game. Good luck.
Go cover Worthy. See how it goes.
Thanks for the update, Jimmy. Also overnight, Randy Rosarina got traded to Seattle. So the trade deadline is coming up on Tuesday. Tuesday. I got a question here.
It's a long flight.
Yes, it is. By the way, on baseball, good luck today to Underwood, Iowa.
Yeah.
State baseball tournament's going on over in the state of Iowa. They play summer softball and baseball. But Underwood, who had a rally to beat Sheridan yesterday, the home of Hy-Vee, Sheridan, Iowa.
Hey.
Oh, Sheridan?
Sheridan, Iowa is where Hy-Vee originated.
Oh, okay, but that's not what, like, the headquarters is what, Grimes? Is that right?
I think they still have.
Do they have, like,
I think they still have some headquarters
Okay.
in Sheraton.
All right.
My Uncle Bill and Aunt Mary lived in Osceola.
We played
I guess they call it Osceola.
Osceola, yeah. Osceola, Nebraska, just outside of Columbus.
Because I'm a Nebraskan.
Yeah. See, I good on you for that.
I only know Osceola. As in Chief Osceola.
Not good on car registration or property taxes, but go ahead.
That's also very, very true. By the way, learned certain areas of the city, wheel tax drops. Maybe my new hometown. $50 less, buddy. No wheel tax. Let's go. I used to have to register my car in Platte County when I was still in Columbus, even though I'd been in Omaha for like 4 years. What do we call about that? Statute of limitations?
Yeah.
Can't do anything about that now.
Thank you.
Can't do anything about that now. Yeah, we played. It was a weird one summer. I think it was my freshman year at Millard South. We played Underwood. Just in I think our coach knew their coach, and so we got together and played them out at their field too, which was actually pretty nice. So where do they play the Iowa State baseball tournament now?
This year it's in Cedar Rapids.
Okay.
They used to
play at Colonel Field?
Yes.
Nice.
The NRG Invitational?
When I was in high school and we went to the state baseball, was in Marshalltown.
Yes, I always remember Marshalltown, but I'd heard it.
But they've had it in Des Moines, they've had it in Carroll, they've had it in Iowa City at the University of Iowa, and they've had it now in Cedar Rapids.
Yeah, that I've been to that ballpark once in Cedar Rapids to watch a Colonels game. That's a nice little ballpark.
It is.
That's cool. That'd be a great state tournament venue.
Iowa JD says wheel tax. What is that, Handley?
Yeah.
Well, maybe move out of Carter Lake. Wait a minute. Am I supposed to give out where he lives?
I think we've done that before.
Oh, okay.
I think it's, if you didn't know, now you know.
So that's all fair.
Yeah, it is. Once we've already put it out there and he didn't resist, we're good.
Observation from the Big Ten Media Days that wrapped up yesterday. I mean, I got lots of observations. I think I say this every year, is What is in the water in Columbus, Ohio, and Ann Arbor, Michigan? Michigan and Ohio State players look so much different. They just look older.
Yeah.
PEDs?
That'd be Jimmy.
I said
we're not starting that again.
It's just whether it be in person or from afar, every year the Michigan and Ohio State players look like they're 28, 30 years old, have been in the league for 6 years, are already on to their second contract, but then you go, oh, you're only a senior in college. Does anybody else notice that?
No, it's
like even at Alabama.
Yeah.
Alabama guys look old, but Michigan and Ohio State guys, they always look like they're the oldest people in college that are playing football.
It's true. It's I will throw out. Actually, I think Iowa players do too. I think when Iowa guys show up too, they look that part
when they're at their best. I can see that.
Yeah, because usually it's your larger individuals. You're not bringing as much as I'm now a Tory Taylor fan because he's with the beloved Bears. You're not necessarily rolling out the kicker or the other than Minnesota, who we also learned is their social media director.
Nice.
That was interesting. But yeah, you're usually not seeing the kicker or maybe the long snapper. It's usually defensive line, offensive line guys. But their look, it's not just to be big, because everybody at this level at Big Ten Media Days, whoever shows up is going to be big.
Yeah,
but there's
everybody that shows up is missing a neck.
Yes.
Yeah.
But then when you look at the face and there's life on that face, there's like 30 years of life on that face. No, I'm with you. Where you're like, oh yeah, that guy looks. So is he one of your new assistants?
I've been saying that
about Ohio State for a long time.
Would you say Nebraska was like that back in the day?
Everybody,
I'm genuinely asking.
No, I kind of, but everybody looked older
maybe because
during that time.
We see Nebraska guys all the time. It just like compared to Michigan, Ohio State players, they look old. They look different.
You're not wrong.
Whenever you watch Alabama and they show headshots of guys, you're like, what's that guy? Well, that guy get like 2 COVIDs happened? So you just stay in college?
He got 10 years of eligibility.
Stallings recruiting?
Well, it's the same thing I always say about college baseball. And you'll see certain teams, like they look so different than Nebraska. How do we not have like 8 of those guys and they have 35 of them? And there's always just certain teams that just have that look. You remember in the Big 12, pretty much the entire conference had that look. So is it just because I don't even know, like, how does it even physically make sense? They're the same age as probably the other guys that are showing up. Their bodies are probably similar as far as their physique, but yeah, as far as their face, I don't know. Maybe they have a way of the facial hair. I don't know.
Affectionately known as pops.
It's a fair observation when you think about it. And if you've been to the Big Ten Media Days, even over the years, the tight end from Ohio State this was about 10 years ago. That's escaping me. And he sat down with us, and I remember thinking the same thing. And I think he was only a junior at the time. He looked like a coach, and it's intimidating. Like, you're 15 and some occasions 20, 25 years older than these people, and yet they're sitting down in front of you, and you're actually intimidated by them.
Sorry, I was a little distracted by the thing that's going on behind you.
Oh boy, how'd the car get open?
Not sure, but we helped ourselves to the cigarettes that were in the car.
Oh
nice.
Gosh.
Well, I see something every day.
What if it's his car?
Hey, it could be. What if they're his cigarettes?
Maybe he was circling. Like, did I leave my keys in there? What are the odds?
Is this where we tell you about a new show starting on the Zone?
Oh boy,
starring him. After hours.
Yeah, I think we just got into that car and are smoking their cigarettes. Okay, welcome to Friday.
Friday, we need football.
Damn, this would have been the day to be doing a remote in our parking lot. All right, when we come back, it's
I shouldn't laugh.
You should. Life is short.
Something is clearly, technically he just broke into a car.
They called the cops.
Unless it is his car. I don't know if it's...
He's enjoying a lung dart. Jim Leland made the Hall of Fame. That's probably what inspired it.
Oh, now he's just flicking the darts.
Yeah, we're having
something's up.
Our gentleman is having a rough day.
Oh, okay. Now he's sitting in it. I'm trying not to do the play-by-play here. It's just every little development, just strikes me.
Gentleman just needs a little help.
Yeah.
When we come back, it's been brought up during the offseason. Actually, started in the spring, been brought in the offseason. Y'all cowards that were in Indianapolis, how come you didn't ask the question that y'all been talking about out loud to Matt Rule? Y'all cowards, I'm calling you out. I'll tell you what the question is that was not asked. Are we saving it for next week?
For black shirts? When they handed out black shirts?
Nope. Not alternate uniforms, none of that stuff.
Oh, okay.
Brett Ciancia is 30 minutes away from Pick 6 previews on 1620 The Zone. You know what is not very far away? Is Lindley Clothing, 132nd in West Dodge in the Linden Market, and their annual sidewalk sale continues today. You know, the temperature is heating up, and the deals have never been hotter with the annual sidewalk sale. Spring and summer menswear, 50 to 70% off. That's right, you heard me correctly. 50 to 70% off. And those David Donahue dress shirts that, especially on a warm day like this, let's say you're out golfing, feel really, really good. 20 to 50% off. These are fantastic deals right now at Lindley Clothing's annual sidewalk sale. You can't miss it. 132nd in West Dodge, right there in the Linden Market, conveniently located. Lindley Clothing, well suited. Sidewalk sale going on. Get there today. Say hello to John and Marlene. They'll take care of you. Top-notch customer service and best prices, best selection. Lindley Clothing, 132nd in West Dodge in the Linden Market. All right, good Friday morning, everybody. The Olympics begin today. Red, white, and blue. Go Team USA. In all sports, crush the rest of the world.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, that's my...
I don't know what that was.
It's just my...
Are you singing?
All for country. It probably has a little meathead in it, too. Just go USA and everything. I got a little meathead on you guys. Sorry. I didn't mean to.
Okay.
I got a little...
Starting defense.
One of the bigger stories yesterday that has come out. Are you familiar? You were bringing up Columbus earlier in this.
yeah.
How many times did you call the F&C Cup?
3 times, my friend. 3 times, and it's a rivalry that I did not understand. That I gained some appreciation because yes, those two communities do have a little. It's good. That wasn't a Pete tweet. Sorry.
So now it's taken on a whole nother level.
Mm-hmm.
They tell us that emailing is dead, that it's now just texting. I know I've been told that. Like people don't email anymore.
No.
Like email is going to be, and I'm like, I don't think so. I go, I don't think so. I think that's how we communicate.
There's still a need for formality.
So the athletic director at Fremont, guy by the name of Scott Anderson, emailed Troy Dannon. I'm sure a lot of people email the athletic director.
Sure they do.
I know people get excited. They go to the Huskers.com or any athletic site, and they'll have like the coach's email
the
address.
directory. Yeah. Whoa, I have access?
I would not want to be the secretary because that's usually where it goes.
Yep.
So you got to sift through those and decide which ones you want to pass on. So the athletic director at Fremont emails Troy Dannon. And it started a really cool announcement that happened yesterday. So on September 21st, when the F&C Cup is played, they couldn't come up with a better name.
Yeah, I always thought that
trophy.
was... So my whole funny thing, well, I don't even know if it was funny. It was funny to me because you remember in dodgeball, it goes F&A, cotton, F&A. So I was always like, F&C, F&C. That's just... that's my thing.
So it's 105th edition will be played at Memorial Stadium because the AD at Fremont said, hey, Troy Dannon, that hole you got on the 21st,
right.
We'd be interested. And Nebraska got back to him, and they worked through the logistics. And a great announcement yesterday, Columbus and Fremont are going to play at Memorial Stadium on the 21st of September.
What would normally be a Husker Saturday.
Now, I wonder if there are more games to come. And if we're going to do this, let's just do 24 hours of football at Memorial Stadium.
There's a great idea.
Let's go. They're going to play, what, at noon?
Yeah, noon on Saturday.
So let Fremont and Columbus have the noon. Let's do about a 2:45 window to give time if the game goes long or, get prep on the field. And why don't we do 24 hours of football at Memorial Stadium beginning on September 21st?
Did we not discuss this before? And again, this was your idea of if you're going to make that Friday game in Lincoln a big deal. We started talking about the logistics of certain games moving up in the schedule, then maybe there being some games on Saturday. Now, I don't think we ever got into, hey, use Memorial Stadium for this entire thing, but having some football games around the Friday night thing, well, here you go, because what this is going to lead to, and I think this is very smart in Nebraska, knowing that, hey, we're hosting, wasn't necessarily our decision to do this, but it was part of the network forcing it on us. We're going to lean into it. We understand that this is a inconvenience for a lot of our high school football teams on Friday. So let's extend that olive branch of, you know what, we hear you. So what we'd like to do is open up our stadium to certain matchups that week or people to have that opportunity. And I don't mean to be mean, but how many times is Columbus and Fremont going to play at Memorial Stadium?
So is it Columbus?
I'm talking about state championship game. So
no, because in 91, there was a snowstorm. And for the playoffs, the only place that you could play because you couldn't get the snow off fields was Memorial Stadium.
Oh, okay.
So it might have been Columbus that actually, they might have played Papillion La Vista at Memorial Stadium in 91.
Oh, okay. But I mean, in all reality, this is kind of to compare what I love that Marty and Warner Park have done for so long, and that is open up Warner Park to regular season games to where you get to experience that. And it's not necessarily, well, teams that otherwise wouldn't be able to experience this at a state championship setting. I'm not even talking about that, but just to have that opportunity to do so, but also on the heels of what we know has thrown a wrench into the high school football schedule with playing a home game on a Friday. Let's do something for all of our local high schools. So you could possibly make this a thing. Even if Nebraska's playing on the road on a Friday in years to come, you could make that Saturday at Memorial Stadium. Like, you could make that a thing. I think it'd be very neat. And I love that they're doing this. But when I saw that yesterday, I realized, okay, if they're going to do that for Fremont and Columbus, you're going to get some of the other rivalries that would say, hey, we wouldn't mind doing that too. And I think that expands not just the Omaha-Lincoln area too, in Columbus and Fremont, but I think that expands to Central Nebraska, the Kearneys of the world, the Grand Islands, that would probably want to be a part of something like that.
If it didn't impact your gate, a lot of those rivalries, you're going to sell out your stadium, and how important it is to make money at the gate. I imagine this will not be the first football game on that date in Lincoln. Imagine there might be a couple of more. But I just love the idea that the AD at Fremont said, what the hell?
Yeah.
Let's just email the athletic director of Nebraska and just see.
What's the worst they can say?
So the F&C Cup, they got to come up with a better name than that. They've had 105 meetings.
Have you seen
104 meetings to come up with a better name?
Have you seen the trophy? So it's basically a bronzed, deflated football. It's a football that has been essentially deflated, and so they just bronzed it. Yeah, I mean,
Should have an animal.
Like that?
It's very unique.
Now, is it a traveling trophy?
Yeah.
Okay, so you win.
Yep, you got it.
You get the trophy.
Yep.
It's in your school.
Yep.
Deflated football.
Yep. I mean, it's something that
should be like a live pig.
Again, I kind of snickered at when I first heard about it because I'm from Columbus, and I didn't realize. I thought it was always Columbus Norfolk. I thought that was the biggest rivalry.
Why is it not the CNF Cup? Why is Fremont got to go first?
Well, that's true. I mean, if you're going west to east, it would be Columbus first. If you're going east to west, it would be Fremont first. I don't know. But you're also on highway. Once you get outside of Fremont, you're on Highway 30. You could call it the Highway 30 show. I don't know. That happened way before I was there. I thought it was kind of I'm with you. I'm like F&C just because it's Fremont in Columbus. But it's what they know. It's a big deal, though. It is a big deal.
I know like Bellevue West and Omaha West Side were scheduled to play on that Friday night. They've moved it to a Thursday. There are quite a few games in the Metro that got moved to Thursday. I don't know of any that got moved to Saturday, but I think this will not be the first of games that will be announced. But kudos to Fremont and Columbus for getting this together. And that email still is a big deal.
Yeah. And Craig Williams, by the way, real quickly, the head coach for Columbus, and I think a lot of people saw the video when he announced it to his team in the weight room. That was really cool. And you can see how big of a deal that was to them of, oh my God, and
how come he didn't have Tim Carpenter? Like announce it?
They should have just had they could have brought Jim Pillen could have announced it. Well, he was busy yesterday.
Jim and Cleat.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe then they would have known. That would have tipped their hand that, oh, this is big. But I thought that being able to, for a football program that I've covered for a very long time, the first thing I thought of was that's awesome because they've made playoffs, but trying to get to the state championship has always been a challenge. So this is going to be a great opportunity to play in Memorial Stadium. And I venture to guess there'll be the Columbus community will show up for that.
I
Fremont
think they should have
Fremont Fred will be there.
I think they should have celebrity coaches, like when they go out for the coin toss.
So Fremont Fred.
Depends on who you ask.
That's true.
Fremont.
Yeah.
If I was voting, hell yeah. Corey Schlesinger walks out with the Columbus guys.
Yeah.
Jerry Godowski for the Fremont.
Oh, there you go. Oh.
I've done your work. Thank you.
At least honorary captains.
Speaking of Nebraska quarterbacks, I didn't catch this. You guys have been all excited about this. I don't think Rule was asked about this at all. Cowards. Was there any? Is Heinrich Haarberg going to play multiple position?
No.
Questions. You're on that train. Where were you at asking? Where you at? I didn't hear any questions. People have been bringing that up all offseason. Yeah. Well, you know what? They're going to use Haarberg in a couple of different things. Wouldn't that have been a great time?
Well,
as Rule talk quarterbacks, that somebody could have slipped in. Hey, what's the plan with Haarberg?
Yeah.
Is he also going to be at? Oh, wait a minute! You said Carter Nelson's going to start at wide receiver. Does that mean that because you'll have a fourth tight end in Haarberg? I'm being a little bit tongue in cheek here, but I'm surprised that question was not posed because that question about Haarberg gets brought up a lot. even though I don't want my backup quarterback out there possibly getting injured while he's running a 5-yard out to catch a pass near the sidelines, and some guy drills him, and all of a sudden I'm down to an NAIA transfer and a true freshman behind my already true freshman. That's just my preference. But I thought somebody might ask about, hey, what's the additional plan with Harburg? I did not hear that.
Did Rule, in a way, head off that question, though? Because every time Dylan Raiola was brought up on a couple of occasions, on the side session and then with McAfee as well, he said, well, think about the guy that he's in the room with, battling with. He's a guy who won 5 games as a starter a year ago. So I wonder if just by saying that and saying he's battling with, even though everyone knows better that it's Dylan, I don't know if just by putting that out there of, well, coach, a follow-up on that, you would think would be, if Heinrich doesn't win the job, is there another plan to utilize his athletic abilities? You're right. I mean, I wonder if people, once they heard that there was, in their head, battle with the guy who won 5 games, we know that's Heinrich Harburg. I'm not going to follow up on, okay, if Heinrich doesn't play. Because I do wonder, outside of the Nebraska media, how many people realize that Heinrich Harburg, actually his first action of last season was as a receiver. In fact, he caught the very first pass of the 2023 season, if people even realize that outside of people who cover Nebraska. So I think from a national standpoint, probably didn't even dawn on them. And I think from maybe the local standpoint, maybe it is. Maybe it's being saved in the kitty as we see the competition play.
Maybe you had a chance an hour to talk to a coach that maybe you might slip that in there. I did not hear that. Maybe we'll save that for next week.
Yeah.
Maybe save that for when Harburg and the 4 quarterbacks meet the media for the first time.
Yeah. I wonder if Grimstead is a good golfer, because apparently that's what they all do. They just golf. Golfing's popular now with football players. All shapes and sizes. Ty Robinson goes out and golfs too. Man, everybody does it. That was not, when I think of like
Firethorn is very good to Nebraska athletics.
I assume it is. I remember Jimmy asking about how did the guys in the 90s, did they look old? I don't know, but I think everybody looked old then because I was younger. But I can say this, I don't remember everybody golfing as much, man. Everybody on that team golfs. Watching some of the quarterbacks swings too. They don't look half bad. Not too bad at all. So that's a question I want to know. What does Jalen Grimstead bring to the golfing element of that team? Just me.
All right. 15 minutes away. Brett Ciancia.
See, these are the things I want to know.
Big Six Previews will join us. Also, Mike Schaefer a little bit later. The Monster Barbecue this weekend. You know what? They should just make it a potluck. If you're going to lean into the passion of Nebraska fans, have every Nebraska fan that's coming up to say hello to David Sanders, bring a covered dish.
Who's bringing some scotcheroos?
Ooh,
very popular.
Good call. Good freaking call, Jimmy. Homemade scotcheroos, far better than the ones that you're going to get at the grocery store.
Can you imagine if they did make a call? They're like, hey, this is going to be truly a Nebraska potluck.
It's a salad, but there's no vegetables in it.
People would light up for that.
To get your picture taken with Dylan,
yep.
Bring a covered dish.
Ambrosia salad.
You know how much food would show up too? Oh my God.
No place like Nebraska.
Yeah.
Delicious.
You better be ready to sign autographs and take pictures.
Be a lot of good casseroles.
Because people will show up. It'll be like Puxatawny Phil. People will just surround the football facility.
The football facility's gobbler's knob.
Then the next thing you know, Dylan will walk out. People will cheer.
Yep.
And then he will open the door, and there's David Sanders.
And does he commit? Is there going to be, I don't know, what would the equivalent of 6 more weeks of winter as opposed to an early spring?
People in the crowd will be holding up their kids like it's Simba. It's a great idea.
And then he commits right then and there, says, I'm going to Nebraska. And then it's like, all right, early spring, let's go.
And then as DeFeatum sells, he goes to Knoxville and does the same thing next day. All right, it's Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone. Shout out, because I have been to that community. Really, really nice community. It is the Nebraska's Big Rodeo weekend in Burwell.
Okay. All right. I've never been to it. I've known of it. Again, my time in Columbus allowed me to know of the surrounding communities of Burwell. So, yeah. Are you going?
No.
Okay.
I've been one time. It is quite the weekend. I will say that. Somebody told me that John Cook might be there.
That sounds about right. He loves all that stuff.
I think if you're a politician or a celebrity or a coach, you should probably make your way to Burwell one time. Go to Nebraska's Big Rodeo. Great folks up there. They're really, really nice. I got to spend some time in Taylor back in the day.
Sarpy County used to
hang out at the Calamus.
Oh, yeah. Did you ever go? Did you ever? Well, you probably have seen it in Springfield, at the Sarpy County Fair. They have the bull riding ring there. That's
coming up. This is a county fair.
Oh yeah, we're totally county fair.
Oh, I remember working those things. Radio.
Yeah.
Broadcast a parade on the radio. Get paid in
Yes, I used to broadcast a parade on TV.
You and I have done that. I didn't do it with you, but
Cox TV, the Labor Day parade.
Did I ever tell you the two guys that I did it with?
No.
J.J. Davis.
Okay.
And Tom Becca.
Whoa. Did you get a word in?
Yeah, actually,
it'd be quite the crew.
It was. I remember when I'm sure same thing with you. When I was first approached about this, I said, "We're doing what? You need me to do what?" And hey, they paid me for it, and we got a free pie each time because the Village Inn people would always come by with a pie, and they'd hook us up with a pie. So really not that bad, but the county fair stuff, doing remotes, especially in a small radio outfit. Oh, that was like their College World Series. I mean, starting on Thursday when it opened,
someone would bring a band in.
Oh yeah, it was huge. Oh yeah,
we had the Oak Ridge Boys on one of the fairs I covered back.
It might be a band that you've heard of, or maybe it was a band that was local that was starting to do some big things.
38 special. Oh my.
Yeah,
let's go.
They're missing like 2 band members because of natural causes, but you've heard of them. Not near. They're probably a version of themselves, but it's like, hey,
Styx,
it's a name.
Sands, Dennis DeYoung.
I'm telling you, man.
He's
and I didn't go to a lot of county fairs growing up. When I was out there in Platte County, and we had a good time. Man, you talk about some of the best people watching. Between that and then the Friday night horse races at Ag Park, some of the absolute best people watching I've ever seen. I would put that up against just about any experience I've had in my life when it comes to like prime people watching. It was amazing.
Apparently, you've never been to the Walmart at 72nd and Pacific.
The times I've been there, I'm usually in and out. I just go what I needed to get and get right out of there. I don't observe a lot.
Do the greeters all carry machetes?
No, that was just I was actually in that Walmart the day that it happened.
Oh, it is really?
Yeah.
Oh no.
I mean, I didn't. I saw the aftermath.
Yeah.
But no, there's a kid named Ryan, big huge Green Bay Packer fan that I always talk to.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry for him.
But that's I frequent that place. So
it's your neighborhood Walmart, man.
It gets kind of interesting. Does it just? There's some people that have conversations. Leave it at that. And I always feel bad for the off-duty Omaha police officer that's standing near the front because every hour something's going to happen. But yeah, the day that the guy had the machete, I was there.
It's one thing to be carrying around a firearm.
Well, I think he was upset there were no chicken fingers. Right there when you walk in, they got the deli.
And you can usually smell it.
They didn't have any chicken fingers.
They don't call it hangry for nothing.
Got really upset, reached into his pants and pulled out a machete.
Could have been worse.
I grew up in a time that if someone had a machete, they were in the movie Children of the Corn.
I also grew up in a time where if you're going to carry a machete, you carry it on your hip. You carry it with like the sleeve.
Yeah,
you carry it in your pants.
A lot of bad things could happen when you do that. That's very, very true.
Especially if it's sharp.
Yep. If it's a dull one, then still. Machetes, think about a weapon that someone shows off. That's scary. That's an intimidating looking thing there. I don't even know. Even if they're maybe in the outback and they're just chopping down.
Personally, I was a nunchuck guy. Chinese star nunchucks.
Did you stash them in the back of your pants? Yep.
That's how we rolled.
As any good nunchuck artist would.
That's how we rolled in Urbandale. Mean streets of Urbandale.
Oh, I was there, man. I don't know how you survived it.
It's tough, man.
It
It
looked
has
rough
shaped
out
my
there.
life.
I thought my neighborhood was tough.
I'm glad you're just not another statistic.
Who knew that you had to mow your own lawn? Thought people just came along once a week and mowed it for you. All right, 7:57. Brett Ciancia. Pick Six Previews is coming next.
Halftime brought to you by Omaha Whiskey Fest 2024, the largest celebration of whiskey in the region, coming your way on September 28th.
All right. There are a lot of things that tell you that football is almost here. And talking season is over. Practicing season going to begin for a lot of schools beginning next week. I think Mizzou starts Sunday. Nebraska starts now less than a week. We got to have a barbecue first. And we have to have a conversation to officially kick off the season a month out. Our good friend from Pick Six Previews, Brett Ciancia, who joins us now. Good morning, my friend. How are you?
Hey, good morning, guys. Thanks for having me on. Exciting time of year here. Everyone's undefeated. Everyone's optimistic for the upcoming season, and really excited to release the 2024 edition of my magazine. The most change in an offseason I've ever seen in the 13 years doing this, with conference realignment, the bracket tripling in size, and all the transfer movement. So excited to break it down with you guys.
Well, as I told you, I think this is your best edition. It gets bigger and better. You get more access to talking to coaches. People already know about the top-notch analysts and accuracy as the most accurate in terms of projections. So kudos to you. Before we get into stuff that is in the preview, let people know that haven't already, and we're lucky enough that a lot of our listeners that listen to you every Friday, they know what they're getting. So they've already ordered. They've gotten it in the mail. I got my copy. Where can people get the 2024 Pick Six Previews magazine?
Yeah, well, thanks for the praise. Appreciate that. And it's been great hearing from so many 1620 listeners. They reach out saying that, they hear me every Friday. They love it. And so excited for this fall, too, with you guys. And, yeah, the only place you can get it is online at pick6previews.com. We have the hard copy edition again, a spiral-bound color book that gets sent out a day or two after purchase. In the meantime, when you buy hard copy, you get the digital PDF as well, so you have both. And we do also have just the standalone digital PDF if you'd like that. So I'm old-fashioned. I like that hard copy. Bring it to the lake, bring it to the beach, coffee side table, and it'll help you through the season.
You know, the best part about the spiral bound is, Brett, is when we think of media days, when we all attend and we get everyone's media guide, it's usually spiral bound as well. And we crack those things open, too, to learn about the team. So that's the best way. Now, speaking of media days, I'm sure you hear so much during media days that you feel like, boy, maybe I need to go back on some of my predictions, right? Because that's how important the conversations with these coaches are, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, hey, it's a way to get these guys in front of everybody, and a lot of one-liners. People try and get their jabs in the off season. So no, it's just a part of the college football calendar, and it was interesting seeing all those new logos and helmets with the Big Ten. I mean, seeing Oregon right next to Purdue, and it was just bizarre. But that's where we are in the Super Conference era. Some big additions to the league, and gone are the divisions, which I'm a little bit nostalgic already about, losing the Big Ten West, Big Ten East. Yeah, it's just part of the offseason calendar.
So let's start because everybody that gets the preview, you always put up, and this is the change that you were talking about, Brett. The 4. Who are your 4 in the playoff? Well, now the whole bracket's on the front with the 12. Georgia, Ohio State, Utah, which you have been high on ahead of the game of a lot of other people that do what you do. You've loved the Utes. You got them winning the Big 12. And then in the ACC, Miami. We have talked for a long time about Miami. One thing that has hurt the ACC is Miami has not been Miami since they've been in the ACC. 0 conference championships. Why is this the year that Miami breaks through and plays in the playoff, not only in the playoff, Brett, but in your case, has one of the top 4 seeds?
Yeah, well, that's the beauty of this automatic bid deal is if you win the ACC, you get a first-round bye. And I don't necessarily think that Miami is a top 4 team in the country, but I think they're going to win the ACC. So with the ACC, it's very wide open this year at the top. I think it's really a 3-team race with a couple of dark horses sprinkled in between Florida State, the defending champs. They lose so much to the pros. They're really recycling their whole starting lineup. Clemson, who a couple years ago you'd call a dynasty, but I think they've really fallen from the dynasty tier. And then an up-and-comer like Miami. And I look first on the field statistically. They were a lot better than their record showed last year. They went through some quarterback problems in November and maybe could have won some of those close games. But better than the record showed. the talent acquisition stands out. Back-to-back top 10 high school classes, back-to-back top 10 transfer hauls for Mario Cristobal. So they're bringing in blue-chip talent, good coordinator hires. And I think it's just time for a revival season with Miami. They sprinkled on Cam Ward, the top quarterback in the portal, Damian Martinez, the top running back in the portal. So they're really upgrading all over the place. And in a wide-open league, I think it's Miami. Now, we've had a couple great revival seasons recently. Tennessee, 2 years back. Texas was last year. I think Miami has their chance back to return to the national stage this year.
The thing about Miami that everybody, and you brought him up, Cam Ward, the biggest acquisition, the most important spot too. But when I look at their offensive line and getting a guy like Zach Carpenter, but also other than really left guard, you're looking at basically juniors and older. How much of just the overall experience and the overall age of that offensive line also factors in?
Yeah, well, I think with head coach Mario Cristobal, there's some in-game criticism that you could definitely throw in there. I mean, their inability to take a knee at the end of games keeps costing them games. So there's some in-game stuff that you could critique. You can't critique his offensive line building. I mean, that's been a constant wherever he's been. He's built elite, nationally ranked offensive lines. Did it at Oregon, here at Miami already last year. They were really young on the offensive line, but they were able to land in the top 20 of both my run push metric and my pass protection, and they're all back. These are former five-star guys entering their third or fourth years in the game. So really like their offensive line as a serious strength, and they added everywhere else on the roster. So I think they're in for a big game.
How much is that gap between Miami and Florida State? That gap probably isn't much, but where is Clemson, Brett, in your opinion, with their approach to how they build a roster, coming off their season last year, which was, all over the place? How far are they behind the top two in the ACC?
I think that it's actually a top three. I think that the big gap falls after Clemson. I think they're in that tier still, based off the strength of their high school recruiting. I think their defense is still playing elite football. It's really the offense is a major question now that they don't have NFL first-round talent at quarterback, and the offensive coordinator hire didn't click last year.
So, and I want to say in the ACC real quick too, because when you look at Virginia Tech and what they came off of last year, looking at their win total as well, people are obviously high a little bit on the Hokies right now. If you do look at just certain factors of that, where's Virginia Tech in the mix of all of that as well?
Yeah, well, if you like returning production, if you like returning starters, a veteran team, this is your pick. I think they bring 20 starters back, number one in the country in returning production, which usually correlates to gains year over year. I think Brent Pry, they found their identity last year with a power run game, a running quarterback, and then, of course, he's the defensive mind. So I think it all clicks. Schedule-wise is a huge boost for them. I think that they could legitimately start 7-1, 8-1. So we'll see. If they play to their potential, they're definitely a dark horse. I have them just outside the top 25.
It was with Big 12 Media Days in Vegas and then ACC wrapping up this week. We're the third best conference. On paper, before kickoff, Brett, behind the SEC and the Big 10, who is the third best conference in your opinion?
I like the Big 12 for this discussion. Just top to bottom, it's a lot of above average, solid teams. I think the ACC, you have a couple headliners there that we talked about, but there's a big drop off. The bottom tier of the ACC is really far down. The Big 12, it was interesting researching these teams because they all have a lot of returning production. They were all solid last year. So as many as 9 or 10 teams think they can win the league. Tremendous for parity and for exciting finishes here. I think it's you might not have a headliner top 5 team in the Big 12, but you have a lot of top 30 caliber teams. So I'll go Big 12. I also like that they fill their stadiums and their passionate fan bases, unlike half of the ACC.
Okay, and with the Big 12, and you mentioned Utah representing the Big 12 with the automatic bid, but if you're looking at teams like Kansas State, Oklahoma State, kind of a similar question to Gary asked about the ACC, if you're looking at K-State, Oklahoma State, and even maybe throwing Kansas, how much separation do you see between Utah and, say, the next 3 or 4 in the Big 12?
Not much. Again, I think it's razor thin at the top of that conference. I sided with Utah given their recent track record, and I think they're in for a big boomerang effect of having all these injured players come back healthy. Last year, their injury run was the most I've ever seen in the 13 years covering college football. It was brutal. Something like 150 games were lost from the 2 deep. So with a healthy bounce back, I think they're definitely the favorites. But really, with Kansas State, Oklahoma State, these are teams that know the Big 12. They're experienced rosters, proven head coaches within the league. The dark horse I threw in there this year was UCF. Nobody else has them even on their radar. But a statistical team better than the record last year. They brought in KJ Jefferson, the Arkansas quarterback, to play for Gus Malzahn. And if you look at his body type, that's basically the Cam Newton mold, what Malzahn had at Auburn. So I really like UCF to surprise and break into the top 25. But you could argue everybody. Arizona was close. Iowa State has a lot of people back, and they know the Big 12 formula. Kansas, you touched on. West Virginia has the power run game. There's just so much to like in the Big 12. It's fascinating.
Where is Colorado better, in your opinion, and where is Colorado still presenting questions to you?
Yeah, the Colorado experiment has been interesting to cover now. In Sanders' first year, they brought in 65 transfers. 45 of those guys already left within a year. It's just another recycling of the roster. But I think they really upgraded it in their defensive line, the trenches. They brought in Arizona State's B.J. Green, an all-conference guy, and 2 Pitt starters on the defensive line. So I think they upgraded there. I think they also added on to the receiver core with Will Shepherd coming in from Vanderbilt, an all-SEC caliber guy. So those are the strengths: is the defensive line, the receivers, and then Sanders himself at quarterback is unbelievable. But they're still, I think, questionable on the offensive line, their pass defense, and we'll see about running back losing their star runner.
I want to get to some teams individually in the Big Ten, but you brought it up, and we even mentioned this when Big Ten Media Day started on Tuesday of, damn, there's a lot of teams there. And you see all of the helmets, all the logos. When you think of depth in the Big Ten, on top of the new additions, but also as teams look to survive without having divisions, how much depth do you think this 2024 Big Ten will have?
Yeah, I think you see a lot of bowl caliber teams for sure. 6 teams made my top 25, which seems a little low, but 10 made the top 40. So I think there's a lot of depth here. You have everything covered. You have your really elite superpower team with Ohio State, another really elite playoff caliber team with Oregon. Penn State and Michigan are going to be top 15 grinder teams. Iowa has the defense. USC has the offense. And then Nebraska and Wisconsin, I think, are growing towards higher potential. So not to mention Washington is in a transition season, but is fresh off of a national title appearance too. And Rutgers probably has their best team since about a decade ago. So I think it's a solid conference. It was odd putting these all together. And I have to say, the schedule imbalance, the scheduling really goes a long way now. It used to be predictable who you'd play within your division. You at least knew 6 games every year. Now it's so scattered where Iowa really benefits. And other teams like Washington really, really get hit hard. So it's really variable this time around with schedules.
This might be an awkward question because you have them as the second best team in the Big Ten and 3rd overall. And Oregon was in Indianapolis yesterday, Brett. Dan Lanning's got a lot of charm. I can see why he is able to do what he does on and off the field. They have players that they all talked about, we have to produce. We have to produce. Then Dan Lanning spent a long time talking about trenches, winning on the line of scrimmage. That's what the Big Ten does. Oregon has prepared themselves to play in the trenches and not say, we'll let the conference adjust to us. They're going to adjust to the conference. There's a lot to like about Oregon. Convince me that Oregon will let us down. Or you can say,
okay, well,
or you can say, nope, ride with Oregon. That's a special team.
Yeah, I think I'll go with that. I mean, right away, they stood out in my research as a team. If they were in the Big 12 or the ACC, they'd be the easy, obvious pick. It's just that they're stuck behind Ohio State, is a super giant team this year. I really liked Oregon last year. My numbers loved them. Really one of the best offenses we covered. And really a field goal away both times against Washington, or else they would have been really strong in that bracket. If there was a 12-team bracket last year, who knows? It could have been Oregon versus Georgia for the national title, and neither were even in the bracket. So I think that they were legit last year. They bring a lot of it back. They reloaded a quarterback too with Dylan Gabriel. I thought that might have been the answer to your question had he not transferred there. But they were able to backfill Bo Nix with another Heisman candidate. So. It's a complete team. You're right about building in the trenches. They were a top offensive line last year, 3 starters back on offensive line. And the defense has a lot of 5 stars too. So this is a real team. This isn't a fraud, on paper. That they have the paper and the stats and all the blue chip talent. And I like your reference there to the Scott Frost quote. That quote backfired, and I think everyone has learned from it. You need to respect your conference you're entering and adjust.
Sharon Moore spoke yesterday. Michigan, from my vantage point, seems like the one that a lot of people have the toughest time figuring out what ultimately they will achieve. Still a lot of good pieces from that national championship, but also enough that's not there anymore. How do you view Michigan, biggest challenges, and where the ceiling can be for the Wolverines in 24?
Well, it's going to have to be an all offensive reload, really. They had the best offensive line in the country last year. Not only 5 starters, but their 6th guy, they all went to the pros. So it's a total reload in the trenches. Of course, you're coming off the high of winning a national title, and they really had a chip on their shoulder last year, given the off the field stuff happening. And it's hard to imagine them getting back to that level that quickly, especially without Coach Harbaugh. You have a coach transition, a new defensive coordinator. 10 starters gone off the offense. I think it's something like 7 off the defense. So it's a total rebuild. Now it's strong enough on defense to keep them in the top 15. I've got them 12th, 4th in the Big Ten, right behind Penn State. So I think they're going to be a solid team, but it's not going to be a defending national champion going for 2 in a row.
Hey, there's nobody putting the Heisman stiff arm on expectations in a Columbus. National title or bust. Why will they get there?
Yeah, I really think that it is. They're putting all their chips onto this season itself. And, some of the biggest transfer names in the game they were able to pull in. They got Chip Kelly to take over the offense. It's really shaping up. And just the 2 coaches, Jim Tressel and Urban Meyer, the 2 recent national champion coaches at Ohio State, they both separately on their own accord put out quotes about this is the most talented Ohio State team ever. They've never seen talent like this in their building. So, I mean, this is real praise coming in from legendary coaches. I think you have an all-star team here, all-American caliber at almost every position, and they're definitely the favorites to win it all right there with Georgia.
Brett, when I've spoken to people on the national scene about Nebraska in years past, whether we're talking about people who cover college football or people who bet on college football, there's always that word trust with Nebraska that it's just not there. When you look at Nebraska based on what they did in 23, what they're coming into at 24 and the pieces that they have back, the pieces that they're adding, are we getting closer from the large picture perspective of trusting Nebraska? And what does trust look like for Nebraska?
Well, I think it took a big step forward in Rule's first year, really on defense. I mean, that was really the building block last year, was bringing in Tony White. The defense overnight really turned into the black shirts of old. I mean, this is the best Nebraska defense I've seen since those Pelini teams, since the Prince of Mukamara, the Ndamukong Suh. I mean, it was a solid unit last year, and you bring 8 starters back on that defense. You were able to retain Tony White. So I think that's the building block. Now, on offense, with all these close losses, all these field goal losses, can you just take care of the ball? It's been the worst turnover program for 20 years. They were, again, dead last year in turnovers. And I think it's as simple as a quarterback. And I know that's so much pressure to put on Dylan Raiola, a 5-star quarterback coming in, a legacy kid. But I watched the spring game. I know it's just a spring game, but he made every throw possible. He showed the full arsenal off. So if they can cut back on some turnovers, I think those close wins will flip to close wins. I probably sound like a broken record because we've talked about this for 5 years now. They just can't get over the hump with close games. But I think Coach Rule is a program builder and now has the quarterback to guide him. So I think you're going to see some gains in the win-loss column, a return to bowl season, and really a favorable start to that schedule, guys. I mean, 7-0 is definitely in play to start the year out. They'll be favored in all 7, by the way.
Yes, they will, which that has not happened in a long time when Nebraska's been favored in 7 straight games. Brett Ciancia from Pick 6 Previews with us. Quarterback play, more important to the success of the 24 season to Nebraska or Wisconsin?
I think definitely Nebraska. I think that you got to solidify that position. It was, I think, one of the worst quarterback rooms in the country last year in terms of turnovers, in terms of completion rate, quarterback rating. I mean, it was just a little step above Iowa, honestly, when you look statistically. So to get that fixed, to bring in Raiola, hopefully not only fix it, but make it an asset, a strength. That'd be great. With Wisconsin, it's a solid team around them. I think it's more of a system on offense where, hopefully Van Dyke works for them. But if not, I think Coach Longo has a proven track record that he can grind out a solid offense. I don't know the same with Nebraska. I think a lot is riding on Raiola to elevate this team. So I would answer Nebraska there.
You mentioned Iowa and another team that is hoping that just by a healthy quarterback, they're going to take a step forward at that position with Cade McNamara. Where do you see Iowa's offense needing to be based on what they also have on the other side of the ball to be in that college football playoff mix come November or even mid-November?
Yeah, if they want to make the playoff bracket, I think you need an above-average offense. That'll be hard to pull off in one season. I love
Brett Ciancia joining us. Clay Helton, 20-7 in his first 2 years at Southern Cal, won a Rose Bowl. Lincoln Riley is 19-8, hasn't won a Rose Bowl. Who is Lincoln Riley at USC going into year 3? I think we lost. Yeah.
It was that damn Iowa question.
Or he's really out on USC.
That was a good question. I was fired up about a Clay Helton Lincoln Riley combo this morning. All right, so call him back, Jimmy. We'll see if we can get reconnected with him.
Iowa JD wanted to know him to finish that thought on Iowa too. Come on now.
Nebraska is officially back in football, and it doesn't need to, be hauling in 5-star prospects this weekend as they're chomping down on some barbecue or beating UTEP by 60. They are back because Paul Feinbaum has attacked Matt Rule.
Oh. Hey, he went after Jim Harbaugh for a long time. Look at that, got him.
So Paul Feinbaum this morning on ESPN has told Matt Rule to stay in his lane. Says, don't worry about the big boys because you're not one of them. You're talking like you belong at the table with Ohio State and Georgia. You don't. And leave the punditry to the professionals.
Oh.
When Rule said that the Big Ten should get 4. All right. Paul. Nebraska's back.
Yep,
all right, and
let's go.
Brett is back with us. I'm not sure if you heard my question about USC. Clay Helton, Brett, 20-7 in the first 2 years, won a Rose Bowl. Lincoln Riley, 19-8 in his first 2 years, almost got to the playoff in year 1. It's year 3 of Lincoln Riley. He's got to improve his barbecue game, but he's also got to improve his defense. Who is Lincoln Riley at SC going into year 3?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've faded USC the last 2 years. They've been the Vegas darlings, the media darlings, and I was saying, okay, the offense will be great, but they have nothing on defense. It's going to cost them, and that has been proven out twice now. Now, I think with that said, I think that he's grown up a lot as a head coach, being able to fire Alex Grinch, a longtime assistant, and I think take some steps forward to fix the defense. He brought in Danton Lynn, the UCLA coordinator, along with Matt Entz, the head coach of North Dakota State, and another Houston coordinator. So 3 great defensive minds coming in, a fresh set of eyes on this defense. They recruit well out there. It's just a matter of getting schemes and development that work. So I think that's going to go a long way for USC. It's just bad timing that they lose their Heisman quarterback at the same time. So I think they're a top 25 team. I think they're getting way too much praise from ESPN, but that happens every year, and here we are. So I think that they're going to have some adjustments in the new conference.
A team that I'm just out of curiosity because the head coach is a personality. It was, I think, very appropriate that he followed Dan Lanning yesterday too. And when you hear about the offseason of Minnesota, you hear the rumors that PJ Fleck was maybe looking at other jobs. But then when you hear him speak yesterday, my God, he's not even looking for other jobs. He's talking about that continuity between him and his athletic director. As far as the play on the field with Minnesota, and again, another team that is going to be interesting to see outside of now a divisional element of this conference, how they adjust. Where do you look at Minnesota?
Yeah, well, uncharacteristic season last year. They were down. It might have been Fleck's worst team since he took over. A lot of that might have been youth and new starters, and I think you're going to see a bounce back here. Very veteran offensive line, defense that returns 9 starters. So I think they're going to make some gains. But you're right about this, that the path to Indianapolis has been shaken up. There's no longer the Big Ten West with maybe more winnable games. They're going to have to play some Giants this year. And in this expanded league, they check in 13th out of 18 for me.
I know you love this question. Is Texas back to stay?
Yeah, well, I think so. I think that last year was their big revival season. Always the third year for Texas head coaches is really determinant of whether they're going to survive or be fired. And that was his third year. That was his money year, and he took them to the playoff. Really, a few yards away from the national title. They really had a shot there at the end of that Sugar Bowl to beat Washington. So, are they back to stay? I think so. I mean, their recruiting is still top 5, but instead of all these flashy receivers and corners, it's built the right way now. It's offensive line, defensive line, and now Quinn Ewers, the 5-star quarterback, is back again for a 3rd straight year as a starter. So, yeah, they're going to make their transition well into the SEC. I have them 2nd in the SEC, still a playoff caliber team. I have them hosting a 1st-round game in Austin, Texas, given the new bracket layout. And, I think that they're here to stay.
All right, give me one team as we get you out of here. And we'll always appreciate our friendship and your contribution to the show. Give me a team that maybe is not in your field of 12 that you really like, doing all your research to put together the preview that is maybe going to fly under the radar.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll go to the SEC. There's just so much talent in that league. I'll go with Tennessee. They're probably my next team out. The offense under Josh Heupel is proven. It's unstoppable, especially when he has a 5-star arm, which he's now getting with Nico coming in. And really what stood out is their defense is really stout in the front 7. They think they have the best defensive line in the country. Maybe not so far as that, but I think they're top 5. James Pierce might be the 1st overall pick in the draft next year. So complete team, 5-star quarterback. It is a grind of a schedule, though. But I think they're going to surprise people, maybe pull some upsets in SEC play.
Hey, fantastic stuff. The preview looks great. I know a lot of people are getting it, and they can't wait for the season to start. It is your best effort, and I'm not even halfway through it. So thank you, as always, and I look forward to about a month from now. We talk regularly at this time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the praise. Thanks for having me on. It's always great talking with Husker fans and Husker Radio. And, we'll talk soon. It's almost the best time of year, guys.
It is. Thanks, Brett.
Thank you.
That's Brett Ciancia. Pick 6 Previews. His preview is out now. You can get it. You can go to his the website, pick6previews.com, or his Twitter account. Paul, man.
I saw the clip that they showed Matt Rule, and then it goes right to Paul, and he's already shaking his head. Oh, I've got an axe to grind.
So
here.
So this was on Get Up.
Yep.
So what Rule said about the Big Ten getting 4 in, they are inserting words about the phrase automatic, which was not used. I think as Feinbaum gets older, he gets saltier. And they just, context and like facts sometimes,
that's how I am.
Sometimes get a little bit lost.
Yeah.
Nebraska's back. Rule is talked about on Get Up. Paul is taking a shot at him. So this will jump into the news cycle today.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, it worked out fine for Michigan and Harbaugh because he was always in the crosshairs. Jim Harbaugh could have sent flowers to the Feinbaums, and there would have still been some type of criticism about that. Lincoln Riley has been in his crosshairs here as of late too. So Lincoln, you can now give an attaboy to Matt Rule because now Matt Rule is going to get a little bit of it now, and now he'll be part of it all the time. Anytime Matt Rule speaks, it'll get Paul Feinbaum triggered.
So this is funny. So they misrepresented what Rule actually said, and the clip is Feinbaum is shaking his head.
Yeah.
Just try to win maybe 6 games. Quit choking big games on the final play and leave the punditry to the professionals. Well, I wonder if Nebraska was in the SEC, if this would have been a discussion.
I was going to say the exact same
or this
thing.
would have been, oh, you're absolutely right.
Mm-hmm. This would have been more of the. I can answer that definitively. It would have not been a thing if it was in the SEC. If Matt Rule is speaking on a program that is similar as far as parameters go, coming off of a 5-win season, having close losses, 0 for 4 in November. If it was an SEC team and he brought that up, the overall just general feel of Matt Rule that people like him and respect him, it would have had a much different tone in the SEC. But it's the Big Ten. Big Ten trying to flex. Matt Rule was boasting the Big Ten, not saying that his team deserved to be in there, but just saying the Big Ten does. If he's saying that about the SEC, Paul, absolutely he's right. Tell me he's wrong.
All right. Football is almost here. Thank God. All right, 8:32. Steven Sipple is scheduled to join us. Mike Schaefer, top of the hour. Huge weekend for Nebraska recruiting. Over 20-plus visitors. There's a couple of major headliners, but there's also some very intriguing guys that'll be on campus for Nebraska as they fire up the fire pits. Still cook some steaks outside of the old locker room? That's where they used to feed the guys.
Oh, nice. They should do that. They should just do everything. I still love the potluck idea. If you're going to show up,
I was
potluck
told,
it, casserole it.
Let me see here. Marcus says, I think the Health Commission would maybe put a squash on that.
Well, yeah.
Nobody wants to eat squash.
No.
Squash is terrible.
No, it is bad. Kristen Coggins would probably have to approve a lot of these meals, I guess, too. But I think people would really want to participate in that.
Sip coming up next on 1620 The Zone. All right, safely back from Indianapolis because there are a lot of people worried. Stephen M. Sipple from 93.7 The Ticket and also on3.com joins us. Good morning, Sip.
Really speak up because there's a lot going on.
Where are you at?
Well, they're doing I'm in my house, at my house. I'm walking Bullet, the dog, and there's a pretty big construction project going on. There's a cement truck right in front of my house. It's making noise. So you got to speak up.
Does it happen to
I
be?
can hear you pretty good. I can hear you pretty good.
Okay. Is it like a project that you're doing? The city working on the street in front of your house? What's going on?
No, you know what's going on?
Okay.
We live right across from. One second. Hold on.
Okay. All right.
We're right across from Hartley School, and they're putting in field turf on the playground. It's amazing.
Nice.
Whoa. Okay.
I guess playgrounds do that, but it's an amazing
Baby
thing.
ACLs.
Yeah, it's cool. Like, it's just it's a school in the middle of Lincoln, 33rd and Vine, and they have like field turf on their playground, which would have freaked me out as a kid. Like, we have field turf. You definitely want to go out for recess, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, talk about fun. Oh, we're gonna play soccer on field turf.
I mean, a little bit easier to work on your chipping and putting on field turf than it is on cement.
That's true.
Out on the playground.
That's true.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
Is amazing.
I've
watched it. Yeah, go ahead.
No, if you want to wax more poetic, I might drive by today. I'll be in Lincoln.
It would be quite a scene for you, I'll tell you that. I mean, there's a lot of activity.
I'll be there. I'll be there to take a picture. How was Indianapolis?
Oh, it was great. It's a fascinating trip. It's hard. It's fun. It's illuminating. Anytime you get that many people together, people are unpredictable. I mean, some of it's predictable, but like I say, when you get that many people together, just, interesting stuff happens. Stuff you don't expect, and even the stuff you do expect is kind of interesting.
Could you elaborate on some of the unexpected stuff? Now, I'm assuming this
Sean
is
Foster.
okay. Yeah. Well, yeah.
Sean Foster's a very interesting occurrance, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just happening before your eyes. Like, you're just like, wow, the guy just froze up. I mean, I'm not really even being critical of him. It's just like that stuff happens in the world. I think he tried to joke. It didn't work, and he didn't know what to do, but he happened to be in a historic situation. I guess it's not, it's not like he signed the Declaration of Independence, but it's big enough.
Yeah.
It's a pretty big deal. And so I was sitting there like a lot of the media were. I didn't know what to think. I felt bad for him. So stuff like that, but also, I don't know, just like Jake, my co-host, hi Pam, running into Brad Nessler and Matt Castle and Blackledge at a cigar bar, things like that. I don't know, just there's a lot of things. Rules appearance and how much comes out of that. Rules appearance before the media. So much comes out of it. I was telling Sean Callahan, it'd be crazy not to go to this. It would just be crazy. You get so much content in our shoes. I mean, I'm not saying in your shoes, but in our shoes, when you got to write and you have to fill a website every day with content, it's like being in heaven. You get so much stuff.
Exactly. So Nebraska's expectations in 24. Matt Rule, and I think I like the thing here that we have more access to Matt Rule. Like, he's talked before we get to Indy. It used to be you'd get to the end of spring, you'd have that post-spring game press conference, and then you wouldn't talk to the head coach until Indy. So we've gotten
Not
access.
much.
Yeah,
Not much. Yeah,
but
we get a little cracked at it.
So
but not much.
we've gotten access to Rule, but that's his forum. He loves that. He's so good at that stuff. So he expands on some things. And he sees what we see, and we've talked about that there's a potential for this to pop sooner than later. Do you think comments that he made or his body language on certain questions about his football team when they were asked, do you think in any way he increased expectations in Indianapolis on Wednesday?
Well, kind of. I mean, it depends. It's hard to answer a question like that because when you throw a blanket over people, it's not everybody has the same expectations. So it's possible that I guess the best way to answer it is a subjective manner. For me, yeah, it kind of did. Mm-hmm. Now that you mention it, I didn't really think about it till now, but yeah, I felt a little bit more like. I mean, my thought was this, Gary. Wow, Rule likes this team.
Yeah. Yep.
And he's kind of saying all the things that I would think in my most optimistic moments. My most optimistic moments. Now, he didn't talk about things that are concerning, like the kicking game. But both the punter and the place kicker, you just wonder about. I do see people raise that issue, and I always appreciate it when they do because it's something to watch. But when Rule talks about Dylan the way he talks about him, and that we have a lot of good players, we don't have players rated 95 in the EA Sports 25, whatever that game is, EA Sports Football 25. Maybe we don't have guys 95 rated, but we got a lot of good players. That's what I always say about Nebraska. They don't have, Mike Rozier, and maybe they don't have Mike Mentor, Grant Wistrom, but they got a lot of good players over there. A lot of them. That's the thing. They're just solid. They're solid pretty much across the board. It's an interesting team to me that way. And we'll see how that all works. But then, he's always good talking about Dylan Raiola. Mm-hmm. And, I think they're good up front. That's the thing I always go back to. I think they're good up front, particularly on defense. And that's what probably inspires the most confidence in my mind. And he does nothing to temper that.
Yeah, I would agree. And Sip, the thing that I'm 100% with you of, if you took anything away from it, and this even goes back to conversations that he's had with the local media before this, but there was always that tone that there's a lot of confidence in what this team can be. If I were to ask you this time a year ago that it would necessarily be trending in that direction of, hey, year two looks very promising. Year two looks like, there's a lot of things working for Nebraska. Now, obviously, at that time, we didn't know that Dylan Raiola would be at Nebraska, but also we didn't realize the defense maybe would be as good as it was too. Would you have been surprised that and I don't think this is just a local conversation. I think there's a lot of people around in the Big Ten that know Nebraska, know the things that they've failed to do, but are now looking at them as in kind of almost a watch out mode of look out for this team. Would you have bought that a year ago?
No, I mean, only because I'm like a lot of people around here now, in that I'm really skeptical. And if you just zoom out quick on our conversation, just go like Damon always says, 30,000 foot view. It's kind of ridiculous what we do. I mean, I do it. We're doing it again, but we're doing this again where we have all this optimism, and sometimes I feel kind of funny doing it, but it does feel real. But hell, it felt real in 2019 too. Okay. When we were doing it with Frost second year, it felt real, and they went 5-7. Okay. So we've been burned so much that that's the best way I can answer your question there. Did I think we would be having this conversation? In a way I did, because we always do. But I go back to it does seem reality based. It does. They're pretty good. I mean, Rules really gets to the heart of the matter when he talks about the turnover situation. You can't be minus 17 though. You can't be minus 17 and have this conversation. And he's trying to change that to +7. Can you whip it around overnight to +7? Now, if they go +7, now you're in business. I mean, now you're 8 wins. I mean, 8 wins maybe. If you're +7, 8 wins might be might be a light prediction.
No,
So, and I think that's what he's thinking.
Yeah, I mean, -17 to +7 is a big turnaround. But I agree with you on if you're +7, that's at least 8. That puts you in the range of 9, and who knows where you're at. A guy that you really, really like, you went all the way to Hawaii just to see him in particular. Matt Rule loves this kid, Carter Nelson. What was your reaction, Sip, when you heard we like him so much, we got to get him on the field sooner than later? I don't care about his body and position. We're going to find a position for him. What was your reaction when they mentioned, or Rule mentioned, where Carter Nelson's starting out next week?
Oh, the guys were giving me a lot of guff because they knew I would be excited. I was. I think they got something here. I really do. I mean, I saw it in Hawaii. I'm not stupid. I mean, I think I always tell other people like you guys that have been watching football for a long time, give yourself some credit. You know what's going on. I mean, you can watch a guy like Carter Nelson on a practice field in an all-star game in Hawaii and see, okay, he might be the best player on the field. I mean, it's not, if he wasn't, there was times it looked that way. And he certainly he stood out. And, you know, talking to Mike Zimmer about it, just off to the side, off the record, Zimmer was, I mean, you know, Zimmer's an old coach. He's in his 60s. He's now the defensive coordinator of the Cowboys, but if, you know, Mike Zimmer was an NFL coach for a long time. If a Carter Nelson makes an impression on him, and Zimmer's coming up to me and asking me questions like, hey, what is it? Who is this kid? You know, yeah, but that gets your attention. But what got my attention in Hawaii was watching practices and saying, he looks like, first of all, it was, you know, the first day I was like, man, he's one of the better players out here. The second day and the third day I was like, man, he might be that best player on the team. I mean, he's really makes an impression. And he's a dog. He's a tough kid. He's tough. And he wants to be great. And now, you know what he's doing for the first time? Lifting weights. He never lifted weights. You know, he's told me he's never really lifted at all. And look what he was without lifting weights. Now he's on a weight program. Oh, yeah. And Rule does really like it. I mean, in Belton, Texas, talking to Terrence Knight, I mean, he just kind of dropped in a conversation. We were talking about personnel. And he said, oh, yeah, Rule loves Carter Nelson. Rule loves it. Okay? So that was before, I mean, that was early June. So, no, I'm not surprised. I know what I saw in Hawaii. I'm always a little surprised when people are reserved when they talk about Carter Nelson. He's going to catch passes this year in big games, and he's going to make big plays. I don't know if he'll have 25 catches like Fedoni did last year, but I bet he makes some big catches that helps Nebraska win big games.
Not sure from our vantage point there was much, but you were there. Was there, with the student athletes between Ty Robinson, Isaac Gifford, Ben Scott, any full takeaways overall, just their presence there? It seemed like very business-like, but anything that you came away with those guys?
Yeah, I mean, I just talked to Gifford, Isaac, and Ben Scott. And, yeah, I mean, you said a good word, business-like. That's how those guys are. Probably why they were there. I don't think Nebraska wanted to make a big splash. I almost think you pick those guys just to kind of just go there and do your thing. We don't have to create a big splash. Let's stay under the radar a little bit. Let's project confidence, but we don't need to say anything crazy. And you took 3 guys that aren't going to say anything crazy. And when you talk to Gifford, you're just struck by his hard edge. He's got a really hard edge. He's very direct and to the point, but projects confidence. Gifford's one of my favorite players because of that. It was that. Gifford was great. Just talk. I like this about Gifford. You know, we do this thing where we kind of pump up that defense. You were 11th last year. How good can it be? And he said something critical to me because I've said this a lot. Yeah, they were good last year, but man, they hurt them. The defense hurt Nebraska at times. They couldn't get off the field at times. They couldn't get off the field against Wisconsin. They couldn't get off the field against Iowa. They couldn't get off the field against Maryland. They got bullied a little bit against Michigan State. We forget all that.
Mm-hmm.
We do this thing where, oh man, they were 11th nationally in total defense. They only allowed 18 points a game. Oh yeah, but there were times that they weren't great. There were times they weren't good. And I appreciate Gifford acknowledging that.
Sip, as always, I appreciate it. Glad you made it back safely. And looking forward. Will you be hanging outside of the football facility tomorrow to see the reaction to the arrival of David Sanders?
Not if I could help it. No, I probably won't be.
All right. Well, that's the response I expected out of you. Have a great weekend. Say hello to Bullet, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right. Thanks for having me on, guys.
All right. That's Stephen M. Sipple, who, if you go to Google Street View, Sip's house is there.
Is he out there with Bullet?
No.
Okay.
His house is there.
The field turf thing at playgrounds is actually pretty common these days.
Yeah.
Man,
that might be new to him.
Yeah, it obviously was.
So they have to take out the slide and everything else over there. I mean, it's a prominent middle school on a major street, like 33rd and Vine is. I mean, if you know, you know. But yeah, Sip's house is in. I went to look. I was like, hey, that's where Sip lives. Okay,
thriving.
He is right about. I'm glad Gifford recognized that because Tony White alluded to this last night. There's something else that before we get out of here at 10, that Tony White speaking yesterday, I really, really liked because it's a question that I have about the plus minus on turnovers is Nebraska last year, they were okay on third down defense. They were 45th in the country. I would like to see what they were from Michigan State on the Final Four games. In comparison, Iowa last year was 15th in the country in third down defense. So you're 45, and you kind of liked your defense, but Sip is right. Especially against Wisconsin and Maryland, they couldn't get off the field. Iowa, when they needed to stop at the end on third down, they couldn't get off the field.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily they were giving up a lot of points, but in the middle of the field on they were giving up third and longs, like 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8. They can go from where they were 45th last year, where Iowa was in 15th, as Iowa was one of the better defenses. I mean, that's a significant jump. And then if you think they're going to take the ball away more, I mean, a lot of things that add up. I mean, there's a lot of ifs there, but they're not that far off. But I'm glad he brought up third down defense because the month of November killed them. Changed my perception a little bit on the defense.
Yeah, and I like that what Tony White acknowledged, and he has really since the end of the season, is those numbers are fine, but when it comes down to whether we're talking about the November stretch there where they got beat up a little bit, or what that is actually meaning when it comes to the win-loss record, when it comes to, okay, yeah, great. We've got, from a statistical standpoint, some good numbers, but in those moments, especially in those games in November, those winnable games in November, are you helping out what was a struggling offense by getting them as many shots as they possibly could, being able to flip the field as much as you possibly could to put them in a good position? And you're right. There were just those stretches in the games. Again, this came on right before Big Ten Media Day started, the Michigan State game, and you're watching a Michigan State that had a revolving door at quarterback, being able to get some key third down conversions and being able to stay on the field, drain more clock as Nebraska was trying to get the possession back over and try to potentially win that football game. So, and that wasn't a good Michigan State team too. So the fact that you're right, people will hear that, people will overall narrative of the defense is, man, that was really, really good. And it could be even better. Sure. But I just, when you hear essentially the good, fine, not good enough mentality, that's what you need. And it seems like not only the coach is going to say that, but how's that being extended by the players that are going to have a true impact on that defense? And it sounds like that is as well.
All right, still to come, Mike Schaefer. Plus, we'll reveal the media poll, the Big 12, the 1620, the Zone. Why did I say Big 12? 1620, the Zone media poll. Do you have Nick Grimm's individual?
I do.
I think we got to read that. That's got to be part of the conversation. We'll do that before we're done at 10. So Mike Schaefer, huge recruiting weekend, monster recruiting weekend. Keep recruiting until they sign. So they sign on the bottom, the dotted line. Keep Cruton. He will join us here in a little bit at 1620 The Zone. They were playing this while Snoop was running in Paris today.
God, I hope so.
Quick question, and this is directed towards you, Nick. You know, Reese, as he's going through his younger years, maybe just uncontrollably crying. Did you ever try throwing?
Were you at our house last night?
It's called adulthood, too.
Wow. So I got a trick for you.
Okay.
And now he's a little bit older. So he's 3.
Oh, he gets a little bit more tantrum oriented too.
Okay. So I want you to try this the next time that he goes into a crying fit.
Okay.
Take out a piece of cheese like the sliced cheese.
Yeah.
You got to take it out of the wrapper.
Kids love cheese.
And throw it on his forehead. I'm no parent, but I play one on the radio. I have heard that this works.
I can get behind this.
Kids that are just sobbing uncontrollably, just take out a piece of cheese, take it out of the wrapper because it won't stick, and you either throw it on top of their head or on their forehead, and the kid will immediately stop crying.
Good. So the next time my wife throws cheese at my head, I'll know it's you.
There you go. Try it.
I'm going to try it.
Seriously, try it.
So
now he's a little bit older. I'm hearing that it's more like infants, toddlers.
Yeah, he's a toddler. He's almost 4.
Okay, so starts crying today. Go to the fridge, grab some Velveeta, take it out of the wrapper. You're holding the slice of cheese. Just fling it so it sticks on his forehead or on top of his head, and see if he immediately stops crying.
The reason I'm laughing so hard about this is because tonight we're going out with some friends, and he'll be with us at a restaurant.
Uh-oh.
And so I feel like we should pocket this. And if he's, I'm just imagining him sitting across the table, and obviously probably sitting closer, and he just starts crying. I just fling one across the table and it sticks. And then everybody else is with us like, what the hell are you doing?
But if he stops crying, it's genius.
And then they will. They'll be like, whoa.
I know.
Just call me Dr. Oz, man.
I know y'all out there that have young kids. You've tried this and it's worked. If you have not, please try it and get back to me.
Dr. Spock.
Just the visual of it is fantastic. It's
you just fling it.
Yeah.
But it's got to stick.
And it's got to be on the forehead. Like
forehead or top of the head.
Like if it catches his cheek, then it's not going to have the same effect.
Got to be on the forehead.
Okay.
And he'll immediately stop crying.
He did have a haircut recently, so there's a little more forehead showing than what typically was, because his hair was like down to his eyebrows. That would have been a problem. Probably wouldn't have stuck.
So it'll be like Ash Wednesday, but with cheese.
I didn't even stay in a Holiday Inn last night, and I just gave you some great advice.
People at the restaurant will be like, where the hell did you get that cheese? Don't worry about it.
IV.
We're parenting.
Exactly.
Stay in your lane.
So it's stay in your lane. Paul. Mike Schaefer comes next. All right, this guy's going to be busy this weekend. He'll be barbecuing. He'll be hanging out with all y'all, taking pictures of a quarterback and a potential left tackle.
Maybe smoking some hot dogs to bring to the barbecue.
Mike Schaefer from Husker 24/7 joins us. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. I would say real quickly to that, smoking hot dogs, underrated way to go. Done it a few times with the smoker. You got to poke some holes in the hot dog before you put it in, so that way the smoke can get in the actual hot dog. But a good way to feed a lot of people if you're in that situation. So,
when you mentioned, because didn't you do that for your Masters?
Yep.
Okay, when you said that, you definitely piqued my interest because it sounded like it would be definitely worth trying. So I haven't done it yet, but I will.
You miss the grill marks. Like, I mean, I always, you like to get grill marks on your dog, but it's got a lot of flavor to it. So I recommend people. There's probably some like longtime pet masters that are listening that heard this that just threw their hands up in the air in disgust. But I'm sorry, you got to try some things in life.
So you're in the throes of being a parent with a youngster. How is Hudson? Does he cry a lot?
Not really. He kind of whines a little bit, when he's put down to sleep. We're currently going through sleep training, so we're doing the thing where you put him down and then you don't pick him up again until 6 a.m.
It's a game changer.
Yeah, and he's taken to it really well. But initially, you get some of the kind of the whines, and there'd be some crying there. But for the most part, unless he's just having a really bad day or he's a little off because he's sick or something, he does not cry a lot, which is very convenient. And I feel like I'm now tempting fate by saying that on
you are. Okay. So if he does, the next time that he does and he's having one of those like really crying fits, go get a piece of cheese and slap it on his forehead.
I know, that's my reaction too.
I feel like I've seen a video on this, actually.
Yeah, it's on TikTok and it works.
Well, yeah, because they're so surprised that they're being slapped by a Kraft single that they don't know how to react.
Boom!
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, they think they might even be able to identify that it's food.
Yeah, I will say he is very locked in when other people are eating and he's not allowed to have a bottle. He knows it's going on, and you do not get a lot of smiles in that situation.
All right, on to let's start recruiting, because I do have some questions about things that came up in Indianapolis that I want you to react to. But how did we get to this point where Nebraska is going to host David Sanders, Michael Terry, many others this weekend, but in particular David Sanders, who, compared to the other schools that were at the top of his list, Nebraska was a little late to the party. How did we get to the point that Nebraska has a seat at the table to possibly secure a commitment next month?
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty unique scenario because I don't think they were initially in the top 6. I think Dylan Raiola kind of went to work and like, hey, you got all these visits you can take. Why not come to Nebraska? So he came early in May. Nebraska, being the enterprising operation that it is, they know that family is really important to David Sanders. They know that he's got a big family. I think most of his family was out for the visit that weekend. And they invited Caleb Benning to use his official visit well after he had already signed, well after, most people would use their official. Caleb hadn't taken one yet. And so they wanted to kind of match up the Bennings with the Sanders, and the families hit it off. And I think that was relatively helpful. And again, you have Dylan Raiola who's in his ear and talking to him about the opportunity that he would have in front of him at a place like Nebraska. There's no doubt that the NIL package that they're offering would be substantial relative to most high school recruits that Nebraska goes after. I don't think the numbers, would be in the same ballpark. I don't know what they are exactly. I've heard plenty of rumors, but I do know that to be in these waters with David Sanders, you would have to have a pretty substantial NIL offer. So they have all of those different things. I think he likes the staff a lot, and then. It wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility that if a David Sanders were to end up at Nebraska, that he could replace Bryce Benhart as your right tackle, if that's what you wanted to do as a freshman. Now, he'd have to go earn that job. He'd have to beat out the guys that are already here, all of those types of things, because that's, again, the spot that could be earmarked for a Grant Bricks, so to speak. But, Nebraska's done a really nice job of offensive line recruiting. And he's just another example of that. But I think they were pretty strategic in how they utilized that early May visit. the way they got him excited. And again, I mean, we don't need to overdo it with everything else. The NIL money is certainly going to be substantial if he were to choose Nebraska, but it's going to be substantial if he goes to Ohio State or Tennessee.
Right. Well, and Shafe, I'll ask you this question because I think about one of the reasons we heard when Dylan Raiola, decommitted from Ohio State and committed to Nebraska, or I'm sorry, Georgia and to Nebraska, was wanting to do something different. I think of, again, in a similar situation for what Nebraska is with Sanders, and that is a guy that is going to, like you said, is going to get money anywhere. Is for Tennessee, Alabama, they get David Sanders type players all the time. It's maybe about doing something different of a program that could be on the cusp of doing some really good things and being a part of that. Is that an attractive lure? We know it was for Dylan Raiola on top of the other things that existed with the family connection. Can that be a lure for a guy like Sanders who's already going to get it? It's just a matter of, what does he ultimately want?
Yeah, I think the tough thing when you go that route with the idea that, hey, you want to do something different, that always sounds good. It appeals to people's sense of individuality. But ultimately, the goal is to get to the NFL.
Yeah.
And so he needs to know that Nebraska is the kind of place that can get him there. And so he has to feel extremely comfortable that, Donovan Raiola can help him do that. He has to feel like guys like Ben Scott and Bryce Benhart are on the precipice of going to get drafted in the NFL. Like, I don't think Nebraska can just sit there and say, look, we've got playing time, we've got NIL money, you have a chance to be a recruit god here in Lincoln, all of these different things. All of that's going to fall flat if you can't get him the coaching and the development to get to the NFL. So he has to feel good about that. I think that he does.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Corey Campbell in particular does a really nice job with a lot of these recruits that come in. The more that we get into the Matt Rule era, the more that Corey Campbell feels like a real X factor in what Nebraska does. They spend a lot of time with the recruits when they're on their visits talking about what the plan would be, how they're going to build them up over time. They have the ability to show the sort of areas that they're going to emphasize. Corey Campbell's experience with Matt Rule and being in the NFL, he knows what NFL body types look like. He knows what it is that you want to emphasize to get to look that way so that you can take how you look and what you're doing in the off season and apply it to the season and be a better player. Like, that's a huge part of every pitch, not just David Sanders, every recruit that comes through. But you have to be able to sell him that he can do that without already having the proof out there. And so that's beyond just the fact that you aren't winning a lot of football games.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest differerentiator is that he knows if he goes to Ohio State, they're putting guys in the NFL. Tennessee's putting guys in the NFL. Georgia's putting guys in the NFL.
Yeah.
That, besides winning football games, is the next big threshold that Nebraska has to cross. They need this crop of 2024s to go to the NFL and be drafted. Not just one guy, but they need multiple guys taken in day 2 and day 3. I don't think they're going to have any day 1 guys on this roster. Maybe, but they need day 2 and day 3 guys, and they need more than just a couple. Like, you've got to have a few, and then that becomes a real thing that you can really utilize going forward.
Hey, when did this weekend, the last weekend before teams with their current crop, they get into camp and they're working on their future recruiting classes? It's not just Nebraska, Shafe. You know this with your colleagues at 24/7. It is all across college football that everybody's having like a barbecue or a get-together where there are big-time prospects that either have committed to that school or uncommitted are showing up on campuses. How did this weekend become so huge around college football?
It became a perfect blend of it's the last of something, which is right before the dead period starts in August that won't be lifted again until September. It is a combination of you can have these guys come in and watch practice, which we know that's a huge thing for Matt Rule. He wants the recruits to be able to see how they operate. He wants there to be nothing left unsaid about this is what it looks like when you're actually here. This isn't some sort of fake thing that we're putting together just for you so it looks great for you. This is what it's like on a Tuesday, but you can't always do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're in summer recruiting, you certainly can't do that. And so when you have that opportunity, you really have to maximize it. And so I think the enterprising programs, Michigan was one of the early ones doing this. Alabama was one of the early ones doing this. They had some success with it. Here's the other thing. you want to kick off your 26 and your 27s, or it doesn't have to be those years specifically, but your future juniors and sophomores, because you want to get them enticed to come back for games in the fall. You want to get that relationship going, because chances are you've already, like Nebraska, you got 17 commitments in the boat. You're ready to kind of start to finish off 2025 and move on to 26. And so it's an opportunity to kick things forward. And, it's ABC, always be recruiting. You've always got to be recruited, and nobody understands that better than Matt Rule. They don't waste these opportunities because they know how valuable they are. I mean, he was doing this stuff at Baylor. Like, it's foreign to us at Nebraska because the previous staffs weren't necessarily taking advantage of the 5 days or whatever where it would randomly open up. You'd sometimes have a junior college recruit come through that could maybe join the team right away. But this is a thing that other schools have been utilizing for a while. It's good to see Nebraska kind of getting on the front end of it. And their visit list looks really nice for this upcoming weekend. They're doing a good job of getting, everyone's focused on Michael Terry and David Sanders and Isaiah Mosey, but they're doing a nice job of getting some of the talented guys in Iowa, South Dakota, Colorado, Kansas to come up, the 26s and the 27s to come see Nebraska in the summer and get them excited about it so they can get it back in the fall.
Shafe, you heard a little bit from Matt Rule this last week. You've heard of it even from guys like Ty Robinson and Gifford and Ben Scott, but I feel like at one point they were all asked a little bit about the NIL equation. We always think of what the current roster might be earning as they get a little bit further up the depth chart, but from a recruiting standpoint, at moments like media days where a coach has a chance to talk about NIL and how they go about it and where they stand, and even some of the, maybe more importantly, some of the student athletes like a Ty Robinson, who's got a unique one with a Lincoln HVAC company. Does that resonate on the recruiting trail as well? I know we always think of media days about this upcoming season, but does it have any type of recruiting impact in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, if your coach can go represent himself well in front of the media, it's certainly going to be received better for the recruits. As far as the NIL aspect of it, Matt Rule's pretty straightforward with the fact that they want to reward guys that are already here. They'll go out if there's a special opportunity. They're not going to shy away from that. Mm-hmm. But their focus is always and he does a really good job of it. And I think this is one of the big differences between him and some other coaches in college football. He's always talking about his roster. If you ask him any question, he works it back to how he feels about his roster.
Yep.
He wants people to know that if you come to Nebraska, you're not a number, you're not a position, you're a person, and they want to take care of you. And if you come to Nebraska and you do everything right and you grow in the way that they hope to, and you're doing your job, that they're going to take care of you. And so I think, again, such a big part of the Matt Rule recruiting experience is the idea of family. And it's not fake, because I feel like he really, truly believes that for them to be successful, they all have to work together. They all have to be able to inhabit the same space. And there can't be that kind of chasm that exists between guys who just make a bunch of NIL money because they were the best player at a position that the coach felt like he needed to go into the transfer portal and get. But he doesn't want that. And so I think, if recruits can kind of see through that, they can see that, again, he does a good job of being who he is in every situation.
Yeah.
And he's always comfortable. I mean, he's on the Pat McAfee show answering a question, getting screamed at a second question in the middle of his first answer, and he can pivot to it. And I think his ability to survive these types of things and just be as visible as he is, again, it just feels like if Nebraska can actually win football games, they have a coach who's as media savvy and as media friendly as any I've ever covered. I've never seen a head coach at Nebraska this comfortable, certainly football-wise. It's kind of a lot like Tim Miles in some ways. I don't know how people are going to feel about that comparison, but Tim Miles was always very comfortable put in those situations. Yeah. Not everybody is.
Yeah, he's the best PR coach Nebraska has had. So last night, Tony White was on the radio, and I said, thank you, because we talk about the turnovers, and we focus a lot on the offense. I go back, PJ Fleck yesterday had a great story going back to the opener against Nebraska. He said he told Joe Rossi, his DC, we need a damn takeaway. A play later, Anthony Grant got stripped. And you know how that game changed. So I love that Tony White was saying, we got to take the ball away. Your confidence level right now, that if Matt Rule said to Tony White, hey, we need the ball back immediately, that the defense could go out there and get a turnover, strip sack, interception, fumble recovery, forced fumble, anything along those lines?
Probably like a 3.5 out of 10. I mean, I like this defense a lot, but they got to go from bend, don't break to breaking other teams. I mean, that's got to be their jump. I mean, it's really good that you can go and make a team have to have a 10-play drive and be successful to go 70 yards. And that's nice. And chances are they're gonna pewter out somewhere around play 4 or 5. But the really good defenses, when we talk about top 15 defenses, it's great that you can do the yardage thing and points can be down, and that's all fantastic. The really good defenses we all know and love from Nebraska history, they went and took the ball from the other team. Mm-hmm. They went and they had huge sacks. They had huge disruptive plays. Yep. I think if Nebraska can go from being pretty good in front of you and keeping everything in front of it to being disruptors. I mean, you talk about that Minnesota game. Isaac Gifford had a chance to end that before the incredible catch that won it for Minnesota. They just couldn't come away with the interception. It felt like often last year Nebraska had a chance for the big play, and they didn't always come up with it. Now, by the end of the year, they had some huge interceptions. They had some big plays. They got better. The next jump for this defense is go be disruptors. You know, not just keeping everything in front of you and forcing teams to earn it. Take it away from them. Like, that's a huge, huge part of if they can move forward as a defense. Because if they just bring back the same defense that they were last year, statistically, it's going to be fine. But you're still going to feel like it's not quite as good as it can be or should be.
Yeah. I appreciate it. Great stuff by your colleagues that were in Indianapolis. Have a good weekend. Hopefully you're really busy this weekend.
I wouldn't mind it. I've got an open Sunday. You know, I can just sit down in the basement, watch Hudson play with his little piano, maybe get some work in with the Georgia State Panthers as Hudson Schaefer's trying to lead them to the college football playoff, and then send out some texts and try to do some interviews and stories. That sounds like a nice Sunday.
Hey, big deal or not, if you're like a David Sanders or a Michael Terry who's a little bit later off the weekend, like if it's your first visit or your last visit, like is it your first time before you go to Tennessee or with Michael Terry after he goes to Texas and Oregon? Make a difference at all?
You know, with Sanders, it's hard to imagine a scenario where he doesn't roll into Knoxville and one of the first 3 questions are, hey, what's that NIL number and how much further do we have to go over? But yeah, I don't know that it's the biggest deal. I think Tennessee is the leader for Sanders, so it's certainly having that last opportunity is going to probably help them, you know, really kind of cement that. But I don't know that it's the biggest thing. I think for Michael Terry, it's an opportunity for Nebraska to make their pitch. I think it's largely thought of as an Oregon-Texas battle, but there's a reason they're coming out here this week. And look, Nebraska needs playmakers, and that's what Michael Terry would be. So I don't know that it truly matters being first or last, but the biggest thing is you got to use every ounce of that time that you have them on campus.
Yeah, great stuff, Schaefer. Thank you.
All right, guys, have a good one.
Mike Schaefer from Husker 24/7. Follow him on Twitter at Mike J. Schaefer. For a busy weekend, 20-plus visitors. Lots of guys in the 26, I noticed, that are on the list. So that's going to be very fascinating tomorrow because I keep telling you there'll be a lot of activity down there. They got the 7-on-7 girls camp. You know, fellas are starting to trickle back into Lincoln because camp starts next week. I'm sure you got other things that are going on. A lot of people. About 5 o'clock tomorrow.
But one of the least talked about as far as the you mentioned the 7-on-7 girls camp going on. Rule's daughter wants to be the next Jordan Love. I got a problem with that. Yeah.
Maybe she likes money. Just saying. Jordan Love about to get paid.
Is she going to hold out at the camp as well?
I think they call it hold-ins now.
Okay.
I think that's what Jordan Love is doing.
You show up, but you're not actually participating in practice, but you're there. Yeah, hold in.
Hey, is Dak holding in? What about CD and Micah?
It won't matter at this point. Maybe
the
difference between he's there.
Yeah, he's there.
It's called a hold-in.
A hold-in. You see, it's not as alienating to the fans if you're holding out. If you're nowhere to be found.
Not 8-9. They'll be 9-8.
You're like at a gym nearby working out, but you're nowhere near the facility. And then you get the call and you're like, all right,
I am so glad that Dallas doesn't want to win, but they want to make headlines. That is great.
You get used to it.
Sorry for your team.
No, you get used to it.
I'm scouring the internet to find where I get a front row seat to watch the Cowboy meltdown again.
Same blank, different day. Same blank, different year.
Wow, the body.
I don't even know why I'm laughing.
Body language yesterday with the actual language that was being spoken. Oh, hello. But at least we got to hear from Jerry Jones.
Yay.
You can always count on that. You can always count on hearing from Jura.
You know what? It'll be when Jerry moves on and the Jones family kind of moves on, then the Cowboys can be a real franchise where they can have real football people making smart decisions. If the Philadelphia Eagles can lock up 3 of their top players, the Cowboys can't.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking about the room on a salary cap. I'm just talking the ability to do it. Howie Roseman, greater than anything in Dallas in terms of a GM. It's amazing.
Water is wet.
Sorry, I didn't mean to bring you
down. No. Yeah, I'm already there.
Maybe I got you excited.
No.
Water's wet.
Yeah, water's wet. Day ends in Y.
One guy to sign, Dak, Micah, or CD. Who would you pick?
I'd still take Dak.
I guess reluctantly. I'll take Dak.
I would. Now, this comes from the opinion of someone who's been in quarterback purgatory for his entire fandom of
screw it.
roots
Micah
for.
Parsons.
So
go with that. Be different. I like Micah Parsons.
Yeah, he's good, but
maybe they can win 6-3. I don't know.
Got to have Q. Got to have your Q, man.
Good. Dak will be playing for the Giants next year.
YouTube down the rabbit hole. Yesterday, 1992 Dallas Cowboys highlight videos. Wonderful. It's like being a kid again.
Jesus, what are you, a Nebraska fan?
There's a correlation. 95 was a great year for both.
I do. I go a little more recent, but I do watch a lot of the 2006 NFC Championship game between the New Orleans Saints and Reggie Bush, who I thought was going to tear up the Bears, and the Bears hosting that, and then they ended up just blowing.
Yeah,
up.
I mean, we're all alike. I do the same thing. I actually watch my football team in training camp right now.
Yeah, shut up.
As you should.
First padded practice today in St. Joe.
Hey,
Let's
you know
get
what?
it.
I'm excited about the debut of Hard Knocks training camp though with the Bears though. Get to know a lot of the younger personalities now.
I don't know if it can match what the Giants' Hard Knocks has been. What they have been doing in the offseason, that is fantastic. The Giants gave them so much access, and it's real about constructing a roster and the draft process, and Saban basically saying, don't draft these 2 guys. It's been one of the best Hard Knocks, but it's almost like they gave them way too much information because now Saquon Barkley didn't know that a couple of his phone calls were being recorded because a couple of the episodes surround how the Giants tried to keep Barkley. They wanted to keep him and how he ended up in Philadelphia. That's a big storyline. Yeah. But if you haven't seen it, the current New York Giants Hard Knocks has been great. It's been one of their best they've done.
Ooh, good to know.
If you are a football head, you get to see the front office of football and how it all works. I think it's been fantastic, but it might be too much access.
Well, and this is the one thing that I'm curious with Chicago because, as you know, Kevin Warren was not a big all-access guy, but is this going to be out of his purview? Because is he more about the big picture, the stadium project, and Ryan Poles, even the McCaskies and Ryan Poles folks as well, can make that decision on what they decide to give HBO on that? Or does Kevin Warren, is this part of Kevin Warren's thing too? Because if it is, you're not going to get anything. It's going to be extremely boring. But if Ryan Poles has a little bit more say in what comes in and what comes out as far as content, I actually think you might get a lot because their social media channels and the things that they've done the last couple of years with Ryan Poles as the GM, even before Kevin Warren got going, there's a little bit more content that they put out there, which I think is good for this. It's a young group too. So that can be fun if you're going to give them something, but we'll see.
May your team stay healthy and do well.
Hey,
that's right.
79 in St. Joe as we speak.
Chilly.
Xavier Worthy is back. He's been out the last couple of days. There's referees at the first padded practice in Kansas City. In St. Joe, let the fun begin.
That's why you're wearing red today.
I might make some excited noises.
No, stop.
That was the first hour.
That was the first hour. Make excited noises all you want, you freaking Chiefs fan.
It is National Tequila Day. There'll be a lot of excited noises.
Hey, at least my quarterback doesn't look like he looks like Cody Rhodes or somebody that's playing high school baseball that dyed his hair before the state tournament. We have our 1620 The Zone Big Ten media poll that we'll reveal coming up next on 1620 The Zone.
Wildcats.
That's such a great movie.
How come they never made a sequel?
See, that's prime for one now. They should. They totally
probably
should.
will.
I would be all about that. That would be great. Could you bring back Goldie Hawn?
You can always bring back Goldie Hawn.
Could she be Molly McGrath?
That'd have to be a role.
Mm-hmm.
They
Right.
have to have somebody play Nipsey Russell.
Yep.
The peanut brittle will still be there.
The last of the peanut brittle.
I don't even really see that movie re-aired much.
No,
and
not
it
really.
Should be.
It's on NFL Network every now and then, though.
That's okay.
For real.
MLB Network shows baseball movies.
Yes, they do. Bull Durham a lot.
Quick golf update. Trevor Kucheski, who is a high schooler at Omaha West Side, he is in the U.S. Junior Amateur semifinals. He has beaten a kid from Texas, going 1-up.
Nebraska beats Texas.
Yep. There you go. There you go. So good luck to Trevor. Yeah, he's a junior? I think he's junior at Westside.
Yeah, and both Kuchevskis qualified for the Pinnacle Bank Championship.
Nice.
In 2 weeks,
There
too.
we go. The Olympics start today. The opening ceremonies, poop in the river. They're going to float down the river. They'll be in boats. They won't be like LeBron won't be swimming.
Oh, they're not in San Antonio. I'm sorry. I'd be
They're
confused.
going to swim from place to place.
They're
in the poop river.
Do you know that you can watch the Olympics on steroids? They're going to have a red zone Olympic coverage.
They should.
Jack
So
Collinsworth's
you just
gonna
go
host.
from event to event. See, I think life is better, and I think sports is better when we have red zone-ish stuff.
Mhm.
One of the deals, I don't know if you read the NBA new TV contract, is ESPN will have red zone NBA.
Oh,
It won't be a separate channel, but it will be on nights, kind of like they do now on the NBA Network. If you watch that, so they'll have red zone NBA. We already have red zone NFL. I would love red zone college football, but because you got so many different networks and they don't play fair, it'd be tough to do. ESPN tried it once, and it actually wasn't bad. They put it on ESPN Classic,
yeah,
and it was pretty
Rest
good.
in peace.
MLB Network does what do they call it? First pitch. They call it something
with the 4.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
But the Olympics, if you want to watch the Olympics on steroids,
big pitch or something.
If you'd like to watch the Olympics on steroids for athletes that actually are on steroids, Peacock is offering a red zone thing. How would you like to host that with all the different events going on and have to keep up on what's going on? And that person in your ear saying, okay, now we're going to go from handball to rowing, and then we're going to stop at track.
And now we're going to go to sailing. Yep. What did you always say? You always say life is better with what? There's something we always bring up. You say life is better with.
That's a loaded
I know,
question.
but it's one you've said a few times. Not just a red cup, not just everything's better in a red cup, a red plastic cup that is.
Yeah.
But you always say life is better with. Gosh, I don't know. It's something, but I would say when it comes to viewing sports is better with quad box.
I'm not a shroom person.
If you're going to have either a red zone or quad.
Yeah.
I'm not a shroom
I'm
person.
just trying to guess at what you're getting at.
that's
Other than the red cup,
just the quad box. Yeah, I don't know. You said you say it a lot, and I guarantee you'll say it again because it'll pop up. It'll be a thing, and you're like, oh, you know what? Life is just better. At one point, I wanted to say with, God, it's not polls, but it's something like that. I don't know.
Life is better when people are on polls?
No, with polls. No, not the pole assassin.
Shout out newlyweds.
Honeymooners.
We did our own Big Ten preseason media poll.
Big inning, by the way. That's what it's called.
Big inning. It's really good on.
I love it.
MLB Network. Again, life is better when you have red zone.
It is. Red zone in anything where you have options to choose to see the things that you want. It's like an a la carte.
Mm-hmm.
Better.
Okay, so we did 1 through 18, and we did offense, defense. We compiled 8 people that are on the air here on 1620 The Zone. The results are in. Nick was so kind to compile them.
It's a simple Google Doc.
We're just looking at the list. We're not very far off from the regular media.
No.
Except for one person in this building. We'll share him for the end.
Not me.
So our results are Ohio State. They came in with all but 2 first place votes. Oregon is number 2. They had 1 first place vote. Actually, no, I take that back. They had 2.
One of them was for me.
Yep. Number 3 would be Penn State. Number 4 would be Michigan. Number 5 is Iowa. And this is where one person's poll inflated this one a little bit. Right behind Iowa comes Nebraska, number 6, followed by USC 7, Wisconsin 8, Rutgers 9, Washington 10, Maryland 11, Minnesota 12, Michigan State 13, Illinois 14, UCLA 15, Northwestern 15. There was a tie for 15, by the way. UCLA and Northwestern tied for 15, but we'll say Northwestern just 16. Indiana 17 and Purdue 18. That is your 1620 The Zone poll. The range for Nebraska, if anybody's wondering, amongst the panel, is high as 3, as low as 9.
Who has them 3?
Who do you think?
Nick Grimm.
Nick Grimm.
Okay.
I had the right show.
I had him 5th.
I had him 7th. Your defensive player of the year?
No, hold on. We got more on this.
Okay.
Who has him as 9th?
John Bishop.
Wait a minute. I thought Bishop was...
I did too. I was actually surprised by that.
I thought Bishop was one of the first people to get hussed.
Yeah, he was the one that said 9 wins at one point. I don't know if he's staying on that, but yes, he has him at 9.
Was he couching?
Maybe. Well, because we were going to do remember the suggestion you had of we're going to do where we think Nebraska should start out and then where they should finish. Some people participated in that. He did have them up to, I think, 7th. I'd have to go back to his official ballot, but I think he had him up to 7th as far as finishing.
Safe.
Let's see. So, yeah, Ohio State was essentially the consensus number 1. Oregon got 2. Penn State was as low as 7, but as high as 3. Actually, no, I take it back. I was wrong. John Baylor. Jeez. Tell John Baylor, guys. It's about
I will
to.
tell him hello.
John Bishop actually had Penn State number 2 in front of Oregon. So there's a little difference there. The team that had the widest range, though, are you ready for this one? Northwestern was as high as 6, as low as 18.
Anybody want to guess who had Northwestern 6th? 951-1620 at about 205. You may be talking to him.
What I learned about Nick Grimm is he was a huge Big Ten West fan. huge Big Ten West fan.
That's how I'm now going to describe him.
Yep. Thinks they're really going to thrive.
And that Nick Grimm is super talented, very likable. Oh yeah. He's a salt of the earth Big Ten West type of guy.
Forever.
I'll give you his so Nick's number 1 was Ohio State. After that, though, he has Iowa 2, Nebraska 3, Wisconsin 4. Not till you get to 5th, where he has Michigan, but then to follow Michigan, Northwestern, then Penn State at 7, Oregon all the way down to 8th.
He may know something that we don't.
He might. He's got USC at 12.
Rich Brooks taking back
His
over.
last place team is Purdue, so he's not far off from where a lot of people were with Purdue. But yeah, I appreciate his loyalty to the division that no longer exists. Remember we said, hey, this would be a division to be up in the air more than anything. Iowa, Nebraska, Wisconsin.
There you go.
2, 3, 4 right there.
Last 2 games.
Boom.
I think it was probably almost unanimous offensive and defensive player of the year, right?
Yeah. Defensive player of the year was Will Johnson, and offensive player of the year was Dylan Gabriel. Dylan Gabriel, all but 2 first place votes. So, yes, that was pretty good. The other Jackson from Iowa was getting a little bit of the defensive love as well. So,
did you guys see Mike Hall's tweet from BTN that Penn State's first year in the Big Ten, which was in '93, their non-conference schedule that year had Maryland, Rutgers, and USC.
So they had an all Big Ten schedule.
I remember that SC game.
I think, and this goes to elimination of divisions. I think Maryland and Rutgers are the only 2 programs, like in the last decade plus, of the 13 that have switched leagues that have never had a winning conference record.
Wow. Hey, there's first time for everything now.
But I'm high on both of them. I think I had Rutgers 9th and Maryland 10th.
Yes, you did. I also had Rutgers relatively high. Maryland, I have them at 10th. Yep, and I had Rutgers at 9th.
All right, we'll take a break, come back. We'll put a wrap on the show. It's ready for the crossover and the final Saturday before football begins around here. How about that? Not bad. You can handle it.
It's just a great thing.
All right. That's coming up next on 1620 The Zone. All right. Great way to end the show and the week. The Olympics start today. Watch yourself some Chariots of Fire. Watch some cool runnings to get you in the Olympic spirit.
Yeah.
Sanka,
is a
you
good
dead
one.
man.
That is a good one.
Or revisit. This is for our youngers back then. The day that a great American athlete, one of the greatest American athletes that we could all relate to, took over as a decathlon champion. His name was John Belushi, who attributed his athletic success to cigarette smoking and eating little chocolate donuts for breakfast.
Yep.
John Belushi would go on to be a gold medalist.
Well, the first one helped my broadcasting career early on.
Yes.
The smoking?
Oh, yeah. Hey, it worked for Jack Buck. That was my defense of it.
But enjoy the weekend. There's a lot of stuff going on.
Yes.
A lot of stuff going on. Also, stay cool.
Hot enough for you out there? Had to do it. Had to do it before we got out here.
85 this morning.
Ooh.
Yeah.
It's
In
getting
the
up there.
morning.
It's getting up there.
Ooh. Yeah, I might have to revisit. You might crank it on next
What did it
week.
peak over the CW? So
88.
Okay. Ooh, this is close.
But it didn't feel like 85. Like
it was a comfortable 85.
It was a comfortable 85.
Oh, my God.
Wind was blowing in off the bathtub.
God, what is wrong with you?
Ceiling fan. I got the greatest ceiling fan in America.
But I don't think you have it down to the science. Like you said, if it's 85 in your house this morning.
Oh, it's warm out.
It's
warm out.
It's thick.
All right, have a great weekend, everybody. Live, laugh, and punt. Make memories. Be safe. Be smart. And the smartest decision you will make is joining us again on Monday morning at 6. Crossovers coming up next and don't forget about the cheese thing.